Okay, folks, here we go.
Here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by.
Yeah.
Yacht, stand.
Yeah,
Take it.
take it at midfield.
Take
Just go
it.
right now. Go to camera 3. 3. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah. Graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay.
Take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q. Sophie.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
Taking us back to our Panama days, but not the way we want to go there. I'm not sure what's going on. We are on my personal YouTube channel. I just threw into the chat for the SCN YouTube channel. That's the one that, for whatever reason, something's going on there. I don't know if I have to unblock it and reinstall it or something, but it is on the regular YouTube channel. And again, I threw that into the chat there, and it is, of course, on Facebook. So, okay, I'm getting an echo on your end there. I don't know if you've got your show playing in the background or something. But anyhow, it is Friday night nonetheless. It is the beginning of the month, first Friday of the month, of course, which is our Canal Zone History Month. But it is happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club, and not so happy hour right now, but hopefully we're getting things to work. Ricky, what's going on, man?
Yeah, hey, hi everybody, and welcome everyone. All our viewers, worldwide viewers that come here so that Willie and I, both born and raised in a Canal Zone, can take you folks down a trip down memory lane here on the happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. This podcast, as you know, it's all about the Panama Canal, the Canal Zone history, and the Canal Zone way of life. And to that, we toast to you guys and hope for a good show.
Yes, salute. Absolutely. It's really frustrating, guys. I mean, I checked it. It even showed the countdown prior to the show. You know, it's 3 minutes till, ready to go, the notifications, everything, and piece of shit doesn't want to work.
Really?
But it's working on the other YouTube channel, so it is something to do with that particular channel. Maybe I'll have to kick it out and throw it back in again or something, because it doesn't seem to want to connect to it for God knows what reason, man. I mean, I've tried every which way. Yeah, so it is the video has been removed by the uploader. Yeah, no, I haven't removed anything, but anyway, nonetheless, the show must go on, and again, hopefully people will start chiming in from the other YouTube channel at some point, as well as Facebook. Otherwise, you have to watch it. I will make sure it does get uploaded to the YouTube channel there, so that anybody on the SCN channel can watch it as well. But
yeah, I just clicked on it and got me up there. So yeah, you're all right. We are on YouTube, but for some reason we're on that channel, like you said.
yeah,
All right, well,
something's blocking
let's get our show on it. Anyways, Willie, most of our viewers, I mean, the vast majority of our viewers watch the show afterwards. They don't watch the live show.
True. Yeah,
So we're doing this for you guys, and you guys that are with us, 6, 7, 8, 10 of you guys. Thank you for switching over.
Yeah,
We appreciate it, man.
and we reluctantly will say to like and follow the subscribe to the SCN Canal Zone channel, but right now that thing's not working too well. So, but nonetheless, we will get it working and we'll get it to function again. It's probably something very simple that probably has glitched up with a connection. Oftentimes, you disconnect and reconnect it, and it should start working. But I'm not going to do it now in the middle of the show. So, you're watching from you're watching from Facebook. Yeah, Facebook seems to work just fine. That's 6-8 months ago, Facebook was when it was a problem. And then now it turns out that YouTube's a problem. But in this case, I don't think, again, it's YouTube specifically, because it is on the other YouTube channel nonetheless. So, but either way, thank you for tuning in, and thank you everybody for joining us. One of the things that's been really cool about this show is, we get a lot of people that have watched the show and really like, what we bring to the table and what we offer. And oftentimes people are asking me, who does your graphics and your video work and stuff, and that's actually my own company, which is our sponsor now, and that's Canal Zone Media Group, and we've just put together a marketing plan that we're working on and that hopefully we'll be launching here very soon. But if you're familiar with the Panama Days video, we did that one, of course, and then again all the graphics on this show, the intros and everything else we do as well. So if you know somebody, or if you're in the need for any kind of graphics or video work, definitely give the Canal Zone Media Group a holler, because we do some quality work. Here's what latest one we're working on here with Howler Monkey Sauce, which is a Canal Zone company. But
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Check this out.
Howler Monkey Sauce sent me to the jungles of Panama in search of their new spokesperson, and let's see if we find them.
Hey, listen, you don't need to keep looking for a spokesperson. You found me. I love this Howler Monkey hot sauce.
Wow. Okay, and what's your name?
They call me Balboa up here in these trees.
Roll camera and action.
This one, the Amarillo, is going to be amazing on chicken. Trust me.
Do you know a howler monkey who can describe the sweet heat of our original with authentic ají chombo peppers, or the fresh punch of verde where habanero warmth meets crisp bell pepper? How about the bold tang of Amarillo, yellow Scotch bonnets blended with mustard seeds? And of course, our hot, the same great flavor as original, with red habaneros for that fire. Our sauces are all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, pure flavor and pure fire. Are you the next Howler Monkey spokesperson?
There you go. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun to do, a lot of work with that, because that the thing about that I've learned with the AI, you can create a lot of really cool things, but the consistency is the part that lacks. You get a good scene, and then you want to continue it, and all of a sudden now the guy's shirt is backwards, or he has a different color shirt now, or something changes every time, and it's not as easy as just go back to this one and whatnot. So but either way, it's come a long way, and that's something that we do really well as far as marketing campaigns and videos and stuff, and like there's somebody chiming in right now, Mark, that that Panama Days video was a lot of fun doing that one, and that was one of the first big projects for that Canal Zone Media Group. So
yes, Mark, I know, Mark.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out to ourselves.
We
Unfortunately,
are,
we're
man.
not the tech guys that we need to be.
Yeah, there's something's going on, and it's obviously streaming to YouTube, but for whatever reason, to the SCN Canals on YouTube channel, it seems to have been blocked for some reason. And
Maybe
every time I do,
after 100 shows, we got to upgrade or something. I think because this is kind of close to our 100th show. I mean, like I noticed we were like 97 videos or something like that on the.
yeah,
the
and there's some
SCN.
extra videos on. There's a couple other things that are in addition to the show. So
Maybe
I think we
that's
figured
what it is.
well, I mean, gosh, I hope not, but if so, we'll have to take stuff down, which I don't want to do. There's some really good stuff in there. I mean, if you guys check on our shows there, obviously the Al Sprague show is the one that comes to mind as a classic interview. That was close to 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a keeper.
But either way, let's keep moving along here, because I know Dave's in the green room and he's got some Canals on history
we got a good
to throw
show,
our way,
guys.
and we've got a really fun segment we're going to do here in just a moment on the Canal Zone dictionary, which is going to be a lot of fun. Something Ricky and I are going to be doing, to have a little bit of fun with you guys, hopefully that down the road on a somewhat regular basis. But anyhow, so what's going on in Panama, Ricky?
Well, guys, we got a little bit of a news brief coming up. Not much, because we did a big bochincha last week, but we like to inform you guys on everything about the Panama Canal. That's what the show's all about.
Yeah.
So the Canal Zone government today is known as ACP. And ACP is doing a phenomenal job of not only getting ships through the Panama Canal, which is what the Canal Zone government was all about, just getting the ships through. ACP now is a major investor in infrastructure in the Panama Canal. So one of the things that we have talked about is this gas duct that is going to be providing, liquid gas and regular gas. What would the other one be? You got liquid gas and what's the other form?
LNG, that's liquefied natural gas, and I'm not sure what the other one's going to be that they're going to
It's
put
just
out
straight
there.
up oil, petroleum going through the
Okay,
pipelines. So
right on.
the two. And they just came out. The president went to Japan to do business with the Japanese. The Japanese are going to be funding this project.
Interesting.
ASEP project. Now they just came out with the statistics for it and the numbers. Job creation for during the construction of this aqueduct, gas duct, 6,500 employees.
Nice.
Because Panama right now is all about getting jobs. And then when it's in operation, 9,500 people are going to be working at that, on that new infrastructure. Now, the return on investment on this humongous project during construction, it's about a $2 billion project. During construction, 160 million in taxes and that kind of
Sure.
stuff. And then while they're in operation, the return on investment, aka the ROI, 1.5 billion a year, Willie.
Nice.
The canal leaves them 5 billion plus another 1.5 billion added to that.
Right.
And which this together adds $2.7 billion to the GDP of Panama. So that's just an incredible project.
Heck yeah, man.
Now, why did they do this project, you ask? And it's one of the strangest reasons is to save water.
Yes.
Right, because now all those ships won't be going through the canal. They'll be parking on one side, they'll be parking on the other side. And so I guess the supply side will just be paying to one side of the canal, and the demand side will be paying from the other side of the canal to wherever the destination is.
Sure.
Yeah. So speaking of water and saving water, as we know from all the weeks of Bochinche, Rio Indio, the new dam they're going to be building in the Panama Canal. We have a quickie map to once again, because now we can pinpoint exactly where the dam is going to be. So Willie, we can get to that. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you can see, we're at the very northern part of Gatun Lake.
At the western part. The westernmost.
Oh, you're right. That would be the most western part of Gatun Lake. I mean, right at the edge of right there. Yep. It's where it's going to be coming in. And 5.2 miles or like 8.7 kilometers from there is where the dam is going to go. It's going to be, I think,
right around there somewhere, right in this area here. So in this vicinity here is what you're looking at.
And that's going to be a big, ginormous aqueduct taking the water down there.
Okay.
So it's going to be underground, buried underground.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Now, there's always been that talk then of this area and how this is going to impact, obviously, the water in that area. But there's something else that comes into play here is that mine. So what's the deal on the mine and where's it located and all that?
Okay, if you pan out, you'll see there on the left.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we have it marked. So we're quite far from there. They're like 30 miles or something like that.
Yeah, let's figure that out again from this area here. Going and marking that here. Oh yeah, you're 60 kilometers. You're good 30 miles away.
Yeah. And then to the river will be another 20, it'll be 22 miles to where the new dam is going to be, and 30 miles from the lake.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're looking at an area somewhere in this vicinity here. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be impacting it like
it's not going to be. Yeah.
That one that we saw.
There's no problem with the water. If there's ever a problem with the mine being polluted, it's too far away.
Yeah, no, indeed. So, well, that's good news. And they definitely need that because, the canal's only going to get bigger, right? It's not going to shrink. So you're going to always need more water and your population's going to grow. We've seen now that the west bank of what used to be formerly the canal zone and all that region there, Chorrera, and you can kind of see it on the map here at this point now is, back in the day, you had, Arraijan was in this area here, and then this was all desolate. And then you had Chorrera here. But look at it all. It's all almost one big, large metropolis now.
Yep.
Right?
Almost a million people between the two places.
Yeah. Yeah. And this area now is considered the suburbs of Panama City.
Yeah. But now watch this. This is some little new news that I've found while I was researching this pipeline. If you go like overhead there's going to be a new highway called the CLC, Corredor Logístico del Canal de Panama, and it's going to run on the west side of the canal,
West Bank.
Willie.
Okay.
On the west bank, yeah. So there's going to be a new corridor, new road.
So think of this. This has always been the Transismian's been going around this way, always on the east side.
The east side, and now they're going to build one on the west side. You know, that's why they have that brand new bridge.
Sure.
There's going to probably be a crossing right there where it says Escobar. It's going to be a new bridge right around there.
Okay,
where to the left, to the left. Keep going left. Now go up. It's right by the leg. Go left.
Oh, there you go, Escobar.
Right there. So there'll be a crossing there, and then all the way down to Rodman. So just follow Empire Range, all the way down the Rodman. So it's gonna be going down Empire Range, guys, and then hitting Rodman, because Rodman's gonna be a new port project. Because that's like the gasoline station.
Yeah, that's one has the actual fueling capabilities that the U.S. Navy had back in the day.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a highway that connects it all the way from the Atlantic side to there, guys.
Interesting.
On that west side, called the CLC, Corredor Logístico del Canal de Panama. Right, so it's going to be probably just for semis, to get back and forth.
Sure.
Because they're investing in a lot of ports up in Cologne, 5 total in Cologne.
Correct.
And then 3 in the south. I mean, in the Pacific, and the 3 in the Pacific, you already know Corozal, right? And now they're going to expand Rodman, and then just north of Rodman, which we know as the French Cut, they're going to expand into there for mostly for container storage.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So, and then there's another port which I don't know much about it, Willie, but I hear it's already it's already working, called where's it? Palo Seco, which I believe is the flat top island.
Well, Palo Seco was the leper colony back in the day.
Oh, well, that's what the next port's going to be, too. The next port
so
project.
Right in this area here. Because remember, the leper colony was down in here somewhere.
Yeah. Well, this will be another big port built in that area, Palo
Interesting.
Seco. Yeah.
Interesting.
And this is all ACP, a.k.a. Canal Zone government, doing these projects. So the Panama Canal is no longer going to just be getting you through the locks. It's going to be a much, much bigger operation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that they're doing. Now, a little bit on the good news, guys, because we always have good news here. And this is a short one. On the good news side, as you know, we had this guy from San Blas just recently.
Elias.
And it was good to talk to him. We learned a lot about the spacing, how far everything is in between. Well, now, with the national government and the Athletic Club Barcelona Soccer Club, together, they put together a new way of delivering medicine in the San Blas. Medicine now is going to be delivered with drones, Willie.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, how about that? So at San Blas, because, as you guys remember, and the map of San Blas, there's tons of little islands. Well, now they will be getting medicine through a drone program.
Very good. Good for them.
Love it. And then, of course, Meyer. We always got to give you a little Meyer update.
Yeah, certainly.
What if Meyer became a influential when he put together this app called Cryptex, which is right before WhatsApp. Before WhatsApp came up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing, protected, encrypted messages, etc. So he put together this sports app aimed for Panamanians, where it unites Panamanian athletes, which you always hear the poor kids never have, support, money for they can grow. Well, Panama's always had great boxers, now soccer players, baseball players, etc., football players now too.
Yeah,
right. He has this new app that puts together Panamanian athletes and the private sector for sponsorships. And it's of course it's called he's got a name for it. What did I write it? I'll get to it. But what it is all about is getting scholarships paid for by the private sector. Logistics,
almost like crowdfunding for scholarship opportunities.
And yes, for all the Panamanian athletes, logistics, training, and that's where did I write that? what the program is called. Sorry, guys, I wrote it down somewhere so nice, and now I can't find it. Putting the private sector and athletes. So that's what we have on good news. Another good news from ACP, and this is it, Willie. We'll be wrapping this up. Is they have frozen the fees for transiting the canal this year, so they won't be raising their fees until September of next year. So I don't know where that came from, but that is what we have. No fees increase for this year. Normally they go up a little bit, with inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, and you know what? I mean, there's been a lot of volatility in markets and everything for the last couple of years. So it's kind of nice to have some stability, at least somewhat opportunity to plan a little long term, and have that set up that way. But yeah, I gotta jump on. I think I must probably have to jump on Facebook and put something on there and put the link to the other YouTube channel, because I keep getting messages. I'm like, sorry, I can't. Nothing I can do about it. But like I said, guys, it's streaming to one YouTube channel. Just for whatever reason, the main channel, the SCN Canal Zone channel, it's not doing it. So I'll figure out what's going on. I may have to uninstall and reinstall that connection to the streaming service
tonight,
here. No, yeah, definitely can't do it tonight. And we got Dave on standby here. I think what we can do, Ricky, is do the Canal Zone dictionary maybe next week, or what do you think? I mean, because it's
we could do it next week because it's a big thing for us. So we want to make sure we kick that off correctly. But before we go there, guys, all the Zonians are getting together right now in Jackson. A big group of Zonians are getting together right now up in Jacksonville for the Arthur Egger Golf Invitational. They actually call it the Art and Friends Golf Tournament in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, if you guys remember the Egger family, very influential Zonian family.
Certainly.
They had in the Cayuco, they always, they made their own boats.
Yeah.
They had all the most, like the Upmost, Almost, etc. A bunch of most, 4 or 5 different boats. Yes, that's what it's going on right now. It's a 2-day golfing event. Today's the first day is at Queens Harbor Yacht and Country Club in Jacksonville, Florida, on Queens Harbor Boulevard. Right. And that's happening today. It's probably over by now, and they're all probably watching the show. And then tomorrow they'll be teeing off from Cimarron Golf Club on Cimarron Road in Jacksonville, Florida.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, you can golf as well, but it's mostly all the guys getting together, guys and girls getting together at the Ember Iron Restaurant. And it's going to be football night, the guys talking about their great scores and whatnot. So it's 3-day event of Canal Zone get together, guys. That is the map, Willie, of the lake.
Yeah, that was the lake map there that we were talking about there. That feed section there for the river, kind of gives us some perspective. So, and the truth is, guys, even without the canals, Panama's growing. The water is certainly used for the canal, but you also need water for a population, and so you're going to have issues there regardless. It's not always going to be just a canal that's having that impact on the water usage. As your population grows, you're going to do that as well. So anyhow, cool. Well, listen, let's move right along here because we're actually only a few minutes behind for Dave because we went ahead and skipped that Canal Zone dictionary. But that's going to be a really cool segment. Basically, what Ricky and I are talking about doing here is this dictionary of the Canal Zone that Carl Berg and Pat Dempsey Probst put out. Fantastic publication. There's a lot of really cool information in there on just terminology of the Canal Zone in Panama, right? And so we want to do something with that where Ricky and I will each pick 5 words in that dictionary and throw them out at each other and see if we can understand or figure out what they are, right? And in some other cases, if we pay attention every first Friday of the month, we'll learn something from Dave Dahlstrom that we may turn around and use as our answer on here. But anyhow, we didn't want to rush it because all this stupid crap with the YouTube channel. So we will definitely kick that off next week, and we got a cool little intro video on that as well. But in the meantime, and I keep remembering that I got to work on putting together an intro video for Dave. Dave's been one of our longest guests on here, and he doesn't have an intro video. I just thought about that the other day, so we definitely got to get Dave one. He certainly has earned one for sure. So, but anyhow, Dave, happy Friday to you, man. Welcome aboard.
How you doing, guys?
Hello,
Good to be here.
Yes, indeed.
So that dictionary, Carl sent me a copy of it,
Yes.
and it's amazing how much stuff is in there. I think I found like 3 words that maybe he could add in there. I mean, it's pretty good. But Ricky, you just taught me one. The most isn't in there. Most has to be in there. I mean,
Right.
everyone, that's a Zonian word. I was in the utmost and I was in the daddy most. You
Yes.
know, that
It had quite a few offshoots.
Yeah,
stuff
there were
like
several modes,
that
right?
would be in the dictionary. Like things that are, Zonian centric that only, when you say the most, you know the eggers, right?
Right.
Hmm.
There's a direct
Yeah.
association.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a
And
good
and
point.
you probably were out front in that one of those boats.
Oh yeah,
Right.
those were always
Yeah, they
trophy
were
boats. I mean,
well
Yeah,
done. That's
we
right.
we did we did pretty good. I came in 7th place in the co-ed total, and then first place co-ed in the utmost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not
So
there.
it was pretty good,
Yeah, no
Seventh
kidding.
seventh place out of all those. There's a lot of
Yeah.
good crews out there.
Yeah, no kidding, man. No
Knock
kidding.
off the Nick and the due process, and it's like only
You're in
4
good
others
shape.
beat us.
Very true. That is very true. Uh, so Dave, how's everything going? I know we just saw you recently because we had our mid-month Pan Canal celebration,
Yeah,
but we're going to be picking up sort of on that whole teaching stuff still, but then you started bringing up some military stuff, which I
yeah.
thought when you mentioned that, I thought, wait, you know what? We just had Bud Tristano on, so what a great transition to that piece right there, man.
Yeah, I wanted to finish up some of the school stuff, but it's like, I don't want to do it 3 times in a row.
Right.
And so I started putting together this program, and of course through the research I started discovering new things and new things, and I started realizing how amazing the military was in the Canal Zone
Right.
and how it basically formed that country. Not to mention all the men and women that joined the service, served during the war, and
Sure.
all the efforts they went in there. And it's an amazing story, and I'm learning about it. It's like things I never knew. I knew more about Panama and canal and the civilian canal zone, but there's
Right.
a military canal zone. Because I mean, it was when I was a kid, you didn't go on base that frequently,
Mm-mm. No.
um, and you couldn't go into the commissaries and all that type of stuff. It was
Sure.
kind of like you weren't necessarily not allowed to go there, but I always remember like going through the guard gate. I always wondered if they were going to let you in. I mean,
Right. Right.
there was always this kind of like you're an outsider.
It was very different, and even for me living on Amador Road,
Mhm.
because again, we've talked before about how Amador was a little bit different. It was kind of an open base,
Yeah.
and so we used to ride our bikes through there all the time, but you still knew you were on base because everybody was walking around in uniform, and you'd certainly see somebody walking by someone else and saluting them and all that. So
Yeah.
you
Right.
appreciated
And
all of that, and you
yeah,
know,
I lived on Fort Amador my last 2 years in the Canal Zone, and back then it was joint Panamanian
right?
and I guess it was Army and Navy.
Yes, correct.
And yeah, and I ended up being like the pickup bus for all those guardias. That I'd come driving down that road with my pickup truck, and they'd stop me, and they'd all pile in the back and take them to the YMCA so
Catch the
they
bus
could go
home.
do their stuff. It's like, but the guys, they had M16s out front and stuff like that. So I mean, and you had to drive. I think in like Clayton it was 15 miles an hour.
Yes,
But right in front of the headquarters there, you had to drive 10 miles an hour. You know how hard it is to drive 10 miles an hour? Oh
ridiculous.
my God,
It's
especially when you're 18
ridiculous.
years old. But
Yeah,
it
no,
was
I
different. So
and I can imagine for a GI that moves down to Panama from the States at 18 years old that have been driving at 60, 70 miles an hour, it's probably even worse for them because, we had a bit, in the zone, the speed limit was what, 35 kilometers or something? So,
maybe 40 going out Gamboa Road,
yeah,
right?
you're
yeah, no,
right.
we had like 2 roads that were 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That
The
was your
Gamble
speed.
one and one on the Atlantic side.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was, I started learning about things. And so I decided I was going to do things on military, and I got started doing it. But then as I started getting into it, I started realizing how little I know about military
right.
stuff. And I started learning about all these different, I mean, we talked about Southern Command and that type of stuff last show, but there's there are so many different units and brigades and squadrons, and I don't even know the lingo.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you know, I need to be educated about it. So
Sure.
what I've learned, I'm gonna share it with you guys.
Right on.
And there's gonna be some of the audience that says, "Yeah, we knew all this stuff," but I would imagine most Zonians, probably like me, it's like going to Atlantic Side, right? It's there. You just never went to it.
You just never went to exactly.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. You don't know what the makeup is. What
So
was the 193rd
so
Infantry
tonight
Brigade?
I want to dedicate history of the military, and basically I'm going to go back. If you go back to 1846 and stuff, it was called New Granada back then. It wasn't Colombia yet, and it wasn't Panama.
True. True.
And so basically it's history from New Granada, Colombia, Panama, and the Canal Zone. So it's basically between 1846 and in 1955 era.
Okay.
I do fudge into the 60s and 70s a little bit. But for the most part, it's going to be stuff that happened before probably this audience was born. Like my dad
Certainly.
was born in 35, but he's no longer with us. So basically from like 1945 and before, it was different.
Yeah.
And we didn't grow up with that. We didn't know about it. And just like we learned about the old canal towns, not everyone knows about all the canal towns. So we're going to talk about some of the military
Sure.
installations that were there. Um, and then I have a couple of where am I's, and these are going to be military themed.
Right on.
And I have a famous Zonian will be military themed. And then a kind of a follow up from our last show when we were talking about the Goethals Memorial.
Oh yeah.
I learned where Sosolo was, so I'm going to share that
Okay.
with
Right
you.
on.
And then I found some other information on gold and silver that kind of changes my my understanding of that. There
Okay.
are some Canal Zone um, government memorandums on the issue, and we
Interesting.
may or may not have time. But what I was thinking was that there's kind of like a gold Zonian,
Right.
gold standard Zonian, a silver Zonian. And when I mean that, I mean it's kind of like by area. There were gold
Correct.
towns, and then silver towns, and then what I'm calling uniformed towns.
Okay.
And we didn't have silver towns when I was growing up.
No.
But the ones that were there, I can't say that I went to them very very frequently. The
No.
and even the military bases. That's what I call uniformed. I didn't go there very often. Like the first time I went to Fort Davis was my trip last year or two, and the driver we had took us in there, and we drove around Fort Davis. And was like, wow, I've never seen this before.
Right. You had no idea
I
where
don't
you
know where
were.
I'm going. He's like, where did I go? I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen this. Yeah. So that's my topics tonight. And
Cool.
so let's
Cool.
go
Well,
to the map
yeah, absolutely.
that's on there, and it's the third slide. There you go. And I think this kind of illustrates. I lost my.
Yeah, this is a great map. I like this
All
map. I've
right.
seen this map before. It's a great map.
But it kind of shows the red areas are the military installations, right?
Yeah.
And then the yellow areas would be, a lot of it's just
And they're not
rainforest, right?
exact in size, but they're somewhat accurate. It's interesting to see, for example, you see Fort Clayton there, and next to that, I have to assume is Albrook,
Yep.
which is considerably smaller than Clayton is,
Right.
and then Amador, which was a joint base, and it still was interesting there. But then on the other side, you have Howard, and then you have Rodman is incorporated in that, which is Navy, and then you probably had Empire Range, which I'm assuming was Army.
Right.
So interesting.
Yeah. So basically, you have these different parts of the canal zone. Like the canal zone can be dissected into different zones itself. And like we never really went into the red zone.
Right.
But a lot of my friends lived in the red zone, right?
Oh, the slide.
Well, I know. I mean, we would go there, but it wasn't
You
like
didn't
a
frequent it.
daily infrequently.
Yeah.
Like we all went to Amateur Officers Club, and we all went to the Yacht Club, right, and American Legion and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
there,
amateur
you know,
was easy to get in. That was never a problem.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
You
saying that
never
was like an open
anticipated to get
base.
stopped. Yeah.
Never.
So that's kind of got me thinking about some of this stuff. All right, so that's going to be the theme of the show tonight. Is kind of like what was happening in that red area, and then
Sure.
also there were military bases outside in the green area,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about those because I don't think a lot of people know about that.
Yeah. Right on.
All right, so my first one is Where Am I?
Okay.
And this isn't old
No, certainly not.
necessarily, but I just kind of want people to kind of
That,
guess.
that looks like it wants to be the tunnel underneath that bridge tunnel on the way to Gamboa past Summit. That little tiny tunnel. They should have looked like that instead.
All right,
Hmm.
it's west of that.
No
West
way.
of that.
Very far west of that.
Oh, it's on the other side of the canal.
It's on the other side of the canal.
On the west side. All
Right,
right.
but-
I would
but
say well, it could
very
probably be
far
part of
west.
that new road that they're building or planning to build.
Right.
Is it?
No.
On the Empire? No.
All right.
Okay.
No, it's further west than that. All right, go to the next one.
Here we go.
Chorrera then.
So building of the Pan American tunnels under the runway at Scarlett Martinez Airport.
Oh, Santa Clara, of course.
Rio Hato.
Rio Hato, yeah.
Rio Hato.
So what they're going to do is so that you just bypass the airport. You just drive underneath it.
This was a photo done in I think 2023. So I think it's there now.
Okay.
And I never went over that runway until like 1984.
Interesting.
You know, I'd go to Santa Clara all the time. That was our go-to place when I was a kid for
Right.
going to the beach and stuff. And then Coronado, and then later El Palmar. But we never went past Santa Clara.
Right. And it was just past it too. It wasn't that far past it.
So it was the first time I went to Vanal, and we went and it's like, what do we do? We're driving over the runway. It's like, you know what? Okay. I didn't know there was a base there. I heard Rio Hato, but I never realized it was a military base.
Yeah.
And then by that time, the Panamanian Defense Forces had it. So
sure.
All right. So we go to the next one. And there you see the
there it is.
There it is. And it goes under there. So yeah, there's a big military base there. I mean, it was huge. And we'll talk about it as we go along. But
we actually dropped bombs on that for Just Cause. We actually dropped a couple of munitions.
We'll talk about that. Yes, we will. All right. So the next, Where Am I?
Okay, here we go. Next one here. All right.
All right.
Well, I think I know. You can see where they're at, which is still a fascinating picture.
Yeah. So where are you at?
Yeah.
Perico
and Flamenco there.
There you go.
And what's in that little island on the right there? What is
San
that?
Jose Rock.
Okay, look at that.
And it's still there.
That's awesome.
You know what they call those all the group of islands? They used to call those fortified islands.
Yeah.
And they certainly were.
They were. They started fortifying those in 1910. And we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But look at those ships. They're right there off where you.
They really are. You could actually see them if we were hanging out at the canal. If you were hanging out at the
causeway,
causeway,
you were at the causeway drinking beer. They're right there. I mean,
there's
can you
aircraft
imagine?
carriers.
Look, they're bigger than the island. Those ships.
And then you have those destroyers that are right next to the island too, so they're even closer.
Right.
And speaking of destroyers, we have one just parked right outside there right now as we speak.
Right.
Hilarious. That's great.
So,
What a great picture, man. That's a great one.
All right. So go to the next one. And this is just a little bit closer. This is where the Amador Beach is. That area.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really see the beach.
Pre-net, right?
Yeah, the beach is right below the camera there.
Right. But this is in between Puerto Rico and
Tobago would have been to your right from here.
Yep.
Yeah, this is kind of looking like towards
the anchorage
towards Panama City.
Yeah, sort of. You know, you're looking at the Perlas Islands way. Of course, you can't see them, but but that's the direction you're.
Yeah, the only thing missing there is a shark fence.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the shark fence probably out of the picture to the left. But
yeah, it would have been then we.
But this was an area where they parked seaplanes.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know
wonder
if you
what
can
those
really
are.
tell in there, but there's a bunch of seaplanes
Yeah, I mean they look like
parked in
boats,
there.
but yeah, seaplanes for sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
the
And
two on
you
the
know,
far
but
left, you can see the
we
wings on
used to
them.
drink beer there, and people used to go
Yeah.
water skiing around that
Swimming
other
all the
stuff.
time.
It was
You
a
know the Canal
military
Zone.
base.
Yeah, the Canal Zone had a airline. Remember, it was all
Yeah,
seaplanes. I wonder if that's
all
what
right.
they parked or whatever. They
Well, that was
used
the
those
Navy
guys.
there. That was the Navy seaplanes
Yeah.
there. That was a seaplane base for the
All right.
Navy. Yeah, the whole causeway, those islands was all Navy base. That was all
Right. It
armament.
was Fort
Smithsonian.
Grant, right?
Yeah, Fort Grant.
All right. So this next one, where am I?
Fleet Admiral
Fleet Admiral
Nimitz.
Nimitz Circle.
That looks like Amador for me if it's Fleet.
Yeah, I would think it's Amador. I'm trying to figure out almost, is that in front of the big Navy building? They had that big giant Navy building that they're
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next one.
building. Yes, that's
That one,
exactly
yeah,
what that
I
was.
love that building. Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
So that's the Fleet Admiral Nimitz Circle is right out front of that building.
Yeah.
But I never knew that was there. And this building is sometimes referred to as the Nimitz Building, even though it's headquarters.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, why did they name it Nimitz? I mean, was he in the Canal Zone? He did visit the Canal Zone once. I couldn't find any photos of him, but of course, I'm also worried about AI telling me that. But
Right.
but
Yeah, I used to have this was like my stomping grounds when I was from like age 6 or 7 till 13 until about 15 or 16 actually. And you know, on that building there, the little tiny building on the right that you can just barely see, that's ended up being our post office once the Balboa post office closed. And remember, everybody got those APO addresses and stuff.
Yeah.
That's where ours was.
Yeah.
Well, when I lived on Amador, I remember every evening, you basically would have to stop because they were playing taps and they were
Yes.
lowering the flags.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know, this is an old photo. It only has one flag, but there were two flags in the 80s.
And you know where else they would do it is if you kept going to the right. Remember where you made that right to go to the yacht club and you kept going straight to go to the causeway, you had the baseball field there on the left.
Right.
And in that area they had the cannon and they would fire off. And what happened way back in the day, they had the cannon facing the Army headquarters building there. And they would throw mangoes in there. And even though they're shooting blanks, but it's still, you know, there's still a pressure in there. And it would fire the mangoes off into the building. That's why they ended up turning a cannon and facing out in the golf course because they got tired of having mangoes splattered on the side of the building, man. And you know, damn well those was Zonians doing that, not the Army kids, but.
Right. So I thought it was interesting that they have this Nimitz Circle and Nimitz Building and stuff. And the only ship that couldn't go through the canal is the Nimitz.
Right. Go figure.
It's too big.
I wonder if it can go through now with the new locks.
I would think so.
All right. So now we can do famous military edition, famous Zonian military.
Which famous Zonian served as Commander, Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, and Chief of Staff, U.S. Southern Command? Okay. Canal Zone Nimitz.
So that's where I got the Nimitz connection on in there. I'm like, all right.
Oh, I know
all right.
a Navy commander.
I got a famous Zonian. I typically wouldn't do this, but I said, what the hell? I'm going to honor their service.
Heck yeah.
And maybe many Zonians may not know this. So,
let's.
Which famous Zonian?
Famous Zonian.
Well, let's see here.
That was a
served as Commander, Nimitz Carrier Strike. So it had to be recent. It wasn't back in the old days because the Nimitz Carrier came around in the 80s. Let's see here.
I know when I was
it
in
John
Puerto
McCain?
Rico, No. When I lived in Puerto Rico, the commander of that
no, John
base
McCain was on the
what
was he on? He was on the
I
Forest.
don't remember
I
his name.
Famous Zonian that was in the Navy, Carrier Strike Group, Chief of Staff.
Yeah, we're making them famous.
Oh, okay. Well, of course, that's what the show does. All right.
Yeah, no, I'll take a pass. I can't.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yes. Yes, she's been in the news recently.
Yes.
Unfortunately or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. But
Navy Vice Admiral Yvette Gonzalez Davids had some distinguished posts. And then she's a Balboa High School grad, 1985.
Yep.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
so I went to school with her.
Yeah.
She was the first female administrator at the United States Naval Academy. And then, like you mentioned, she just was reassigned to be Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for operations, plans, strategy, and war operations at the Pentagon.
Holy cow.
Yeah. She's quite an accomplished service person. Thank you for
Yeah.
serving. And yeah, that's awesome.
And so she was deployed in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom.
And someone we were running around with in high school. I mean, that was during our time.
It was
Class of
absolutely,
85.
and
Yeah. That's so
so
cool.
thank her for her service or
Yeah,
sacrifice,
indeed.
and it's
That's awesome.
still doing it. So then I just got added one more photo, and this is
There you go.
Vice Admiral Davids when she was just a plebe at the
Yeah.
university
Right.
visiting Panama during Christmas break
With
at
our
El Palmar
surfboards.
Road.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
saying
awesome.
hello to me. So, all right.
Good stuff.
So
Right on, man. That's cool
we
stuff.
won't embarrass her anymore, but thank her for her service. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you for your service for
So go
sure.
move on to one of the things we talked about during the August 15th show,
Yeah.
the ANCON, going through the locks on opening day, right? And it's all decked out in flags. I mentioned that it had a peace flag at the front. I don't know, like a green piece. I can't remember what.
Okay.
There was some organization, and the Ancon and the Cristobal, they went to the United States, and they would bring back cement from
Oh, wow. Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And I'd commented it many times on the show that I thought when the Ancon went through the canal, it probably had cement that it was
Sure.
carrying. It was working. Everyone
Heck
else
yeah.
was there
Might
on
as
for a
well.
party, but it had cement probably going to build our houses or the locks or whatever
Yeah,
they
no
you
doubt.
needed the cement for.
Yeah.
But when I read the article, it said that it had one of those fortified cannon guns that was destined for Fort Grant in its
Wow.
hold.
Interesting.
So I started looking at the different models of cannons that they had to try to figure out if I could find out if that was true and which one it
If it would fit
was.
in there.
And so this is what I found. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
All right. So this is a 14-inch cannon. It's um, it was built by a company in New Jersey, and it went through um, training or testing and stuff at a proving ground in Sandy Hook, New Jersey. And so this is one of the guns. It's called an M1907, and it was sent. I think two of them were sent to those fortified islands.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they had two 14-inch guns, and then they had a 16-inch gun. And so I think it was one of the 14-inch guns that was in the hold of the Ancon when it was going through.
Oh, there you go.
Because this when you look at the records, it said that the guns were installed in 1915.
Okay. Okay.
So they
And
probably
for what it's worth, guys, a 14-inch gun, to appreciate the size, obviously you can see the guy standing there in the photo as well. But remember back in the mid 80s, I think it was either the New Jersey or the Iowa went through the canal and docked in Balboa at Pier 18, and it was open for visiting. And I went on board and watched that. And I remember standing underneath those guns, and I mean, you're just in awe at the sheer size of those barrels, and
Mhm.
there's 3 of them on each gun. It's really impressive, but
Mhm.
it shows you 14 inches is the diameter of the shell that's coming out of it. That's what it shows. And so
Inside
obviously
diameter too.
correct. And so it's
Yeah.
much longer than that and whatnot. But that again gives you some perspective of what a 14-inch gun is.
But now I know that they have these model numbers, the
Okay.
M1907, and then they know exactly where they were, whether they went to Hawaii, they went
Sure.
to San Diego, or they went wherever. And then this one has a disappearing carriage, and it has its own model number. So
Okay.
I'm learning what a disappearing carriage
Holy
is
cow.
and all that stuff. So we go to the next one, and this is a 16-inch gun, and this is what I thought was in the hold. and this was the big one that was out at
Yes.
Perico Island, and it was built in 1902, and it called it a battleship style gun. It's not the same as what's on a battleship. It might be the same size,
Correct.
but there's a Navy version of it. This one was built, and then they're like, now what do we do with it? And then they're like, it took them 7 years to build it, and then it took them like 10 more years to figure out what to do with it. But they sent it down to Fort Grant, and and I don't know if I guess these guys are standing on it at Fort Grant. It must be installed, but you can see that shell. That guy standing there. It's like the size of a man, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bigger.
Absolutely.
So all right. So then we go to the next one, and this is back at Sandy Hook, New Jersey, at the proving grounds. That same gun, and I guess it was the thing to do was to sit and stand on one of those things,
Right.
right? So,
Right. Well, it gives you
but
perspective of the size,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. So, and then the next one is when they're getting ready to ship it. And this is where I found out, well, it wasn't the 16-inch gun because it was shipped January 1915. And we know that, the Ancon went through on August 15th, 1914.
Sure.
So
Yeah. So
it
that was
must have been one of the 14s that went.
yeah, there you go. A little sleuthing
There we
there.
go. And then this one, it's a replica of that 16-inch gun, but they sent that to the World's Fair, St. Louis World's
Oh,
Fair.
very good.
And you could see all the different shells that
God,
I guess
incredible.
it could do, or maybe it only shot the one on the far right.
Yeah, the ones on the left are awfully small, but who knows? I mean, maybe they fit inside. I mean, you got those big pipe looking things,
Mhm.
so maybe that's some kind of an adapter.
All right. So these are the cannons that were on top of the
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 Causeway
Causeway
Island.
Islands, and
Yeah.
that's why they call them the fortified
Sure.
islands. And they were designed to protect the canal from sea attack.
Yeah.
All right.
No. Yeah.
So
And
then,
chiming in there, 16-inch guns on the U.S. battleship. Yeah, the Yamamoto had 18-inch guns. That was the largest guns out there for sure. Large, and unfortunately, was never in a position to do anything with
well,
them.
that 16-inch gun when that was built, that was the largest gun.
Correct. Correct.
So the next one, I'm just bringing this map up because we'll talk about some things. But we've always talked about the canal zone being 5 miles, either side of the canal, 10 miles wide, right? And then we talk about, well, now we've got the Madden Lake and those types of things, and then the 1955 treaty, where lands were reverted from Cologne and Panama. But if
Yeah.
you look at this map on the right side, you can see Panama is just a little enclave. It's like a little carve out.
It really is. It's almost, where from our perspective as kids growing up, Panama City looked like the big city and and little Balboa in the canal zone. And as it turns out, Panama was the little piece that was just kind of carved out there for you guys, and the rest was all
Yeah.
U.S. territory.
They had to do a survey and figure out where that red line was,
Interesting.
because there was no need to have one before.
Right.
And back in 1910, Panama City, the city's population was 22,000.
Oh, wow. So it's easy why you could see why they would just say, hey, carve out a little area here.
Yeah,
It's more than
because there's
enough.
only 22,000 people.
Right.
You know how many people were in the canal zone in 1910? 40,000.
Wow.
You know
Look
how
at
many
that.
people were in the canal zone in 1912? 60,000.
Wow. That's amazing.
So the canal zone, and that's Atlantic and Pacific, and then all the line towns in between. But Panama City was not a very populated place. And when
Okay.
we talked about last time about how many Panamanians worked on the canal, if half the population is female, then there's only 11,000 people. And then if some of those percentages are children, it's even less
Right.
people. And then how many are older, that aren't between like 18 and like
Yeah,
50?
certainly.
So it's kind of like, all right, well, the 350 of you are left, you're going to come work for us, right?
You all
So
got a
that's
job.
why the number is kind of low, is just because the population
There
was low.
wasn't that many Panamanians then.
That makes all the sense, because I always wonder, why weren't there more Panamanians working on
There
that?
weren't Panamanians then.
Because there weren't any then.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think there
That's
were
good
only
stuff.
I can't remember
It'd be
how many.
interesting to find out what happened after that whole negotiation and the treaty, the first treaty. How many people moved back to Colombia that decided, hey, I'm going back to the motherland kind of thing, and maybe some population dropped there as well.
Probably none.
Well, I mean, because remember that was a big civil war. You were
Yeah,
one
I
side or
guess
the other. So
the ones that were related or were employed by the Colombian government maybe
that
went
were
back.
military or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
But
I guess it depends on which side, because Panama was more along on the liberal side, weren't they?
Yeah, correct. That's how my family came over because of the
Correct. And
liberals.
so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if and so when that happened, any of the ones that were on the conservative side, they probably got the heck out of there.
Yeah, but if you look at the population, it's not until like 1950, 60 where they had like 60,000 people in the city, or it wasn't
Well,
a whole lot of people.
No, and in fact, if we hadn't run out of time, I was going to bring up a quick little segment that I saw earlier this week, that yesterday, September 4th, in 1957, was the birth of the 1 millionth citizen in Panama. And they made a really big deal about it. They gave that person 45 acres of land, free education, all the way through college and everything. And it's interesting because the land component, they didn't give it to them just a few years ago. But
All right.
it
So
was
let's
a
go to the
small
next one.
population
Let's go to
then.
the next one. All right. So this is just kind of a zoom in of Panama City. You can see that it basically where Amador, Gavilan area, Balboa, the limits area was called, going over to like Ancon, that area.
Right.
That was, it wasn't a very large area at all.
No.
All right. So go to the next one.
And real quick, Ricky, look, there's Palo Seco. If you look down below, you can see where that's cut out. You're talking about that port earlier. There's Palo Seco down there, right off the water there.
The flat top.
It shows up on the next map too, on the very, very bottom right or bottom left.
Okay.
But when last on the 16th, we had our Maryland Zonian picnic,
Right.
and where we had it, the residence is literally across the street from the Naval Academy, so you can see the Naval Academy right out the front window.
Oh wow.
But one of the Zonians that I met there said that her father flew them down in a one-engine plane in 1952.
Wow.
And they flew into Paitilla Airport, and then they
Sure.
lived there around Punta Paitilla. And I said, "Oh, you got there when it was still Canal Zone." He's like, "What are you talking about?"
Look
I
at
said,
that
"Yeah,
right
they
there.
reverted it in 1955."
Paitilla was Canal.
And she's like, "I never knew that."
That's amazing.
So, but what I find strange on this map is that Paitilla Point on this map is still shown as being part of the Canal Zone. So I've got to think that it's a mapping error,
Could
or I
be.
have to figure out when Paitilla was reverted, or maybe it's
Sure.
still ours.
Wouldn't that be interesting if it remained and nobody ever said anything about it?
I
It's
don't know.
part of
maybe-
the Canal
maybe
Zone.
no.
How
I
can you
mean,
people in
it
Panama don't
happens,
even
right?
know that?
You just pay
Sure.
somebody and they look the other way,
Yeah.
right? All right.
Nobody
So
says
all
anything.
those Chico Plásticos from Paitilla, they're all Zonians. They
They're
don't
all
even know it.
Zonians, yeah. Every last one of them. But on this map, everything like past Bella Vista on there was Canal Zone at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That's
No
where my
kidding.
parents grew up, Bella Vista. Both my parents.
Yeah. All right. So that's just something I wanted to point out. The
Yeah.
other part of it, if you look at this map, you see the railroad
Yeah.
coming in, and then you've got all that railroad, like where the wharf is. You can see that. And back in the day, the Panama Railroad, when it was first constructed, that was the terminus of it.
Right.
In
Was
that
in Panama
area,
City.
and the Panama Railroad owned all that area that's track and white.
Oh wow.
So go to the next one.
Okay.
And is it zoomed in a little bit more? Not
I think
really.
the other one seemed like it was zoomed. It gave
Guys,
it
I got them
let's,
backwards.
let's say hi real quick to a big bunch of guys that are watching.
Yeah,
us.
we do have quite a few people on there.
Hi from Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Steve
Yes,
Toppenbaum,
they got
Bob
quite the
Baker.
group there. Look at that.
Yeah, Bob Parthes, Colin Creel,
So-
Rod Snyder, Kenny Gall, Dennis Hannigan. These are all big
All right.
Zonians. Paul
So-
Bierman, Rick Dubeck, Michael Young, and Chuck Sukup. Right on, guys.
All right.
Thanks for watching the show.
So in the 1955 treaty, they reverted the lands of the Panama Railroad and all the buildings and stuff. And so all of that, even though it was in Panama City proper, it was the landowner was the Panama Railroad. And so you couldn't do anything with it.
No.
But then with that treaty, they gave them all this property, and it caused a big ruckus on the U.S. side because there was a lot of value real estate that was given up.
You know what's
But so
interesting
that
about this map, Dave? If you start looking carefully, guys, and you pay attention to what you're seeing on the screen there, you see where that little compass is in the water there. If you look directly across that, past those railroad tracks, where you see those red buildings, that's Ancon Hill. That's like the Gorgas Hospital
Gorgas,
area.
yeah, right, exactly.
You know, and it gives you an idea of how that whole red area there is actually Ancon Hill. And if you can kind of envision the backside of that was Gaylord Highway, and where what we knew the train station where it ended in by Frangipani was shorter than this. This is the original length of that rail, like Dave says, went all the way out to the water.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So go to the next one. Next one. All right, so this is that same area. And you can kind of see where the streets now start getting filled in later on when it became part of Panama. They started filling in the streets there. The Calle 30 and Calle 21 and those types of things. But if you see the one building on there called the Freight House, keep that one in mind when I show you some photos
Yeah,
later.
and something interesting here. You see the Tivoli there on the left.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nice. So go to the next one. And so this is kind of zoomed in a little bit more, and you can see the Tivoli on the left side. You can see Ancon Hospital on the left side. What I thought was kind of interesting, also, Ricky, if you look at the on the left image on the very bottom, right at Columbia Road.
Yeah, I see it.
That building, that is the one that we had on the last show. That was the district court, or the courthouse that was going to be the governor's mansion.
Yes.
That building that's that building right there.
Yeah, and if you follow that one that just says road on it, it comes in and it empties out on 4th of July Avenue. See that?
Yep. Yeah, it's closed, but you can see it still.
There's some homes up in that area too.
Yeah. And then what I also found interesting is that we always called it 4th of July Avenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this one is labeled Tivoli Avenue.
Sure is.
So I never knew it was called Tivoli Avenue before. And then the other thing I see in this, and this is why I have the image blown up on the right side, right in the middle, across from the Tivoli Hotel, Parque de Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
We always called it 5th of May Plaza, right?
Yeah, that's where the
I never knew it was called Roosevelt Park.
No, that is that. No, I don't think that's Cinco de Mayo. I don't think that's. Yeah. This is the one. This is the one that's by the bus terminals, the big giant park.
You can see the bus terminal there. It's right in front.
Yeah, because if you see where that road that says Sandblast Street, if you go up north there, and then that road hooks down, that's where the old Pan Am building was, and it would make that road down that way. Is that? That's not Plaza Cinco de Mayo was off of Central, wasn't it?
It's just up to the
left.
Well,
Central is on the right side.
Correct.
If you look at the left map, then you see Parque de Roosevelt, and if you go on the all far right and then down, you'll see the train station. It's darkened in right there. Yeah. So that would be where the National Assembly is,
right?
Where all the legislators work.
Okay. Well, either way, I didn't know there was a Roosevelt Park there.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And the Tivoli, and of course, when Roosevelt went to visit, he stayed at the Tivoli, and then they had a procession from the Tivoli down to Cathedral Square, where he had a ceremony. So they went down Central. So he actually went through that area on his visit, and I guess it was a symbolic gesture to name it after him.
Yeah, of course.
First president the U.S. to leave the country to visit a foreign country.
Absolutely. And he was the president when Panama came to be, and kind of helped him out.
Yeah. So when I even get amazed when I look at maps, I find things that different maps have different things.
Yeah, all right. We love maps now. We're doing maps.
We'll go on to the next one. Yeah. So when did the first U.S. troops first deploy to the Isthmus of Panama? And I have to say Isthmus of Panama for the reason when I started. They have New Grenada, we have Colombia, we have
Look at
Panama.
you. Okay. First deployed to the Isthmus of Panama. So in that, it would, I guess it would have to be then 1885, I would have to guess.
No, remember they were there for the railroad.
Yeah, but that was Grenada. Then it wasn't Isthmus of Panama.
Oh, the Isthmus of yeah. You're right, 1885.
I would assume. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. Interesting, huh? God, they've been there a long time though, man. Holy
Okay, Master. What is it, Master?
All right, and we got Noel Garcia's chiming in there. He's the Panama Railroad historian.
Well, I don't know what happened to my notes.
Oh no! So let's see here. Drum roll. Here we go.
But basically, in 1846, the U.S. signed a treaty with New Grenada, and basically it said that they would be able to. I think it was the Bidlack Treaty, Milano. Bidlack Treaty, 1846, that basically gave the U.S. the ability to cross the isthmus.
Oh, okay.
You know, the U.S. had just acquired California.
Okay.
And it wasn't yet a state. And so they were setting up a way to cross, you know, unimpeded. Basically, New Grenada gave them that ability, and then there was kind of an agreement that they would keep the peace. The U.S. would.
And those troops were there when
little protection
1903. They were there in 1903.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know,
So
guys,
then
that's
in
go ahead.
Right. So 1852, you know, we learned about Grant, and he was being sent to California, and so they were going through, you know, before the railroad. So they had to go through, you know, do the mules and do the canoes, and they decided to march. And we know that story. How many of them died? Over 100 died. Some of them buried on those islands on the causeway. Grant spent time on those islands on the causeway, weeks waiting for the ships to come to pick them up to take them to San Francisco. So you know, it wasn't there as an official capacity. I mean,
and when he was there at that time, they were actually islands. There was no causeway.
Right, exactly.
You actually had to row or sail.
But that was one of the first time U.S. troops actually set foot in there, and there may be others, but so that's why I put in 1852. So B could be right too, and then C 1856 is after the railroad was completed. The railroad was completed in 1855. We have the watermelon riot.
How about that?
Didn't you talk about that last time, Will?
I believe there was a brief mention of it. Yes.
All right. So now the railroad is open. You have a bunch of 49ers going over.
Right.
And like 1,000 people came over on the train waiting for the ships, and there's no ship.
Uh-oh.
Or they had to wait for the tide to come up. You know, one of those types of things. And so that market where the train, you know, depots are that we saw in Panama City. Some American like takes a piece of watermelon from the vendor and doesn't pay for it. And of course the fight breaks out and shots are fired. 15 Americans were killed, 4 Panamanians were killed, and then like 50 people were injured. And so they asked for the U.S. to come in.
The Panamanians got the win on that one.
They asked the U.S. to come in
and restore order
and keep order.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's your trivia, guys.
There's
the first Panama-U.S. war. Who won it? Panama. I love it.
Well, it wasn't soldiers that were killed. It was passengers.
Yeah.
It was passengers. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean there were people waiting, that were crossing the canal to go to California.
What year was that? 56?
1856.
The Royals weren't there yet.
So then in 1885, there was there was the Colombian Civil War, and I guess the Colombian troops were preoccupied, and there was some unrest, and they asked the U.S. to come in and help keep order.
Yeah,
and so
Panama City side.
So they did it. So then Oh, there are my notes. They're on the next slides. I didn't know I did that. All right. Okay. So then go back to the one with the quarters, the Aspinwall. So this is in 1885. They had a U.S. garrison there, and you can see all the soldiers that are there. I think there were like 287 of them back then to keep the peace. So that was really, I would say, the first time that they were like
In official
asked
capacity
asked
working there.
to come and keep the peace.
Sure.
But I think they had crushed a couple of civil uprisings, many for for Colombia, because
Yep.
the
Okay.
Panamanians were regularly trying to.
53 times
Yeah,
before
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I think in between 1852 and this time, there probably were many skirmishes that were
Hmm.
handled by U.S. troops, I guess. All right. So the next one is in this is in the freight shed in Panama City, the one that I said, look on the map
Yeah.
at. So this is inside that building, and this is an armed car, and I think in the center you can see like a cannon sticking
Yeah, sure does.
through there. So this is
It's like an opening, they wheeled it in there.
1885.
Wow.
And so it was a loaded streetcar.
Well,
All right. Okay, so the next one, we're kind of getting going a little bit further. In 1904, 1914, basically through the construction, there was the Panama Canal Guard that was set up, but
okay.
they also sent in like Marines. The Marines were there actually. In 1885, one of the first lieutenants that was sent there, his name was Elliot. I can't remember what his first name is, but he ended up being the 10th commander of the U.S. Marine Corps
Okay.
later on, and I believe Camp Elliott that was on the West Bank was named after him.
Okay. Right on.
But then the Panama Canal Guard from 1907 to 1917, and then in 1917 they established a separate military, and that was the Southern Command or Caribbean Command.
Right.
And this is where I need a flow chart that's a mile long, because all the acronyms and different military um, brigades and regiments and all that other stuff. It's squad. I can't keep track of all of them.
Right.
There's so
Yeah.
many of them. I started learning, the numbers that are used for cannons. I started learning the numbers are used for aircraft. I started learning the numbers on all this stuff. It's the whole dictionary. We need
Oh, it
Carl to
is.
come
The
with a
military
dictionary about
jargon
all
is
the
a
military
whole,
terms
yeah,
that are
it's a
used
whole
in the
different
Canal
world
Zone.
of
But it's something
speaking.
we should know because it's part of our history too.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. So basically, my presentation tonight is going to focus on the next one, which is these airfields that were set up primarily World War II,
Right.
and there were um, over 20 airfields set up across the country of Panama, because the Germans had a bunch of U-boats, and they were always lurking out in Pacific and Atlantic, Caribbean,
Yep.
trying to pick off ships. And they were the U.S. was worried about an attack on the canal, and they set up this whole system of airfields with reconnaissance planes that basically would go out and hunt for submarines.
Wow.
They also set up signal towers so that they could communicate with Central America, South America, and other places. Like there was a signal headquarters in Rio Hato, and then there was one in Trinidad. And, and that way they could talk to each other and monitor German U-boats and such. And apparently, the German U-boats would sit out in Caribbean, and ships would come out, and they'd just pick them off. And the U.S. was trying to get Panama was neutral at the time, and because they were neutral, the U-boats couldn't
Could attack.
torpedo
Right.
one of those ships. So
Yep.
the U.S. was trying to get their ships with Panamanian flags on it, so they wouldn't be shot, and they could send stuff to Europe. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. So, but anyway, they set up all of these airfields around, and I started looking at them on aerials about where they are, and they're like Paitilla
Yep.
was one of these airfields. It's like right in your backyard. You didn't even know about it. And Chame, right when you go past, remember there was a place
Yeah.
called Jodipan?
Yep.
Mhm.
Right behind there was an airfield.
Yeah.
Chorrera had one. Chame had one. Anton had one. There was Madden had one. There was
I flew out to Calzada Larga when I was first.
Tucuman was one.
Yeah.
That's what Tucuman started out was being as one of
Correct.
these airstrips and stuff
Correct.
like that.
Because the actual airport for Panama and everybody was in Balboa.
Right. And so we know France Field, and we know that was the first one. And that one, apparently, we've talked about Cologne being like very low and had to fill stuff. Um, and, so that area, and there's a lot of rain over there. So that area was always wet. They called the runway, it was very muddy. And I think that's why they had a lot of those float planes, is because the
Sure.
runways were
More
crap.
practical to be a seaplane base.
Right. So, and the runway was short. And so that was really one of the impetuses to develop Albrook. And Albrook opened in 1939.
Huh.
And then they also did Rio Hato, which was more of a training base. Um, um, and then Howard as well. But some of these places, you probably never heard of them, but these
Right.
were These were
Part of the airbase network.
part of the airbase network.
Yeah.
So we had American soldiers there. They had American buildings. So all across Panama, there are U.S. bases and U.S. personnel, and we were everywhere. And
Well,
when
you
you
know, the
got the
bad
Rio
gig you had in
Hato,
World War
when
II.
you got the Rio Hato, and you had to cross the runway,
Right.
you had to go through the U.S. military first.
Yeah, you were across the military
That
base.
caused a lot of angst with the Panamanians.
I can imagine.
The same thing when you're going across the canal. All of a sudden you got stopped by U.S. and it's kind of like, hey, this is our country. It's like,
I mean,
no,
there's a
it's
list.
not.
Right, of
There's
course.
20 bases here. That's a lot of places to
Yeah.
occupy.
Right. And one of the reasons why they're not there anymore is that after the war, they realized it was going to cost like $11 million just to like
To support them.
support them, and then another $100 million to like build them up, maintain them.
Sure.
And that's a lot of money. $100 million in 1948.
Heck yeah.
No, but so let's go on down, and we'll see what else we got. So this is kind of a map. I don't know if you can see it, but basically all along the highway,
Yeah.
like you're seeing David, Las Lajas, La Mesa, Pocri, Chitre, Aguadulce, Rio Hato, San Jose Island, Ray Island, Chorrera, Madden, and some of these other places. These are airstrips and stuff that are on there, so you can see all along the coast. They had bases basically so they could go out and search for submarines.
Yeah.
All right, and then go to the next one, and this one's very similar, but it has principal air bases, and then it has auxiliary air bases, and then
So the principal ones
emergency
are the circle
landing
ones.
strips.
Just the circle ones, and the circle with a dot are the
Ye-
other ones are the auxiliary
Yeah,
ones.
yeah. So there were, but you still had to maintain and man these places. Someone had to watch to make sure that the runway wasn't being sabotaged, right?
And you know what's interesting too is if you notice the larger concentration is on the Pacific Ocean, not on the Atlantic Ocean, because
Right.
you had more coverage with the Caribbean in there, and
Yeah.
out here you had nothing.
Yeah. Well, they also had stuff in Costa Rica, and they probably had stuff in other islands as
Puerto
as
Rico.
well.
That's what I mean.
They
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There was sparse Panama coverage there, but on the Pacific side, it pretty much seemed like Panama had the bulk of the coverage.
Right. But basically a whole network of bases.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I heard about Rio Hato later on, but I never knew that there were 20 other bases.
Right.
I never knew Tucuman was a U.S. military base. I never knew Paitilla was a military base.
or the Canal Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and that one you see that La Jolla, whatever, Pacora, that's actually Tocumen. Because that's in that area. That town of Pacora is right next to Tocumen, next to the airport there. That's
all
cool,
right.
man.
So the U.S. had to have land leases for these things.
Okay.
So the requested land leases for airfields. How many years did they request these land leases?
I believe it was like
We got
the
33
treaty.
years, 99 years, 999 years, or in perpetuity.
I think it was perpetuity, and then they realized
Me
it's too damn
too.
expensive.
Yeah, because that was like a part of their foreign
was-
policy was
Yeah, that
everything
was
had
kind
to
of
be
their
in perpetuity.
modus operandi, and then they realized, wait a minute, that's going to
So
cost
this
a
would
lot
have been
more
in the
money.
1930s and stuff, like
Yeah.
1938 type time frame, when they realized they needed these bases because the war had started, but the U.S. wasn't involved yet.
Right. So there wasn't that high priority just yet, but they were getting there.
All right. Well, the answer is C. They asked the Panamanians for a 999 year lease for these airstrips.
Wow.
And the Panamanian National Assembly said, hell no.
1,000 years, Lord have
Hell
mercy.
no.
Jeez, there's not too many countries at that time that had been around 1,000 years.
So then how many did the air bases did the U.S. request?
God,
They
98.
requested 999 years. I would go with 98.
They're going for broke on everything else.
Mm-hmm. And I see my notes. Hang on. Oh my gosh, I don't have to go by memory on this. Where'd it go? Why can't I read them? Okay,
The
all right.
Pershing incident. Tell
So
us about that.
so in 1933, the War Department requested 7 airfield sites within Panama.
Wow.
So A was the
A.
correct answer at
Finally.
one point. And then by 1935, 25 airfields were identified. So that was B. And then 1941, the USAAC, U.S. Army Air Corps,
Right.
made use of 60 different landing areas.
Wow.
So they didn't all show up on those maps, but they probably had to have places for planes to land, right? I mean,
Certainly.
that's, you go up, you got to come down. You can't always come back to the same spot.
Nope.
And then during World War II, the U.S. operated 22 air bases in Panama, and that largely is that list that we looked at earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's D. And then after 1947, the U.S. returned 98 defense sites and negotiated lease extensions for 36 sites, including Rio Hato. And so, for example, Toboga had a radar on it, so that was a defense site.
Yep.
And so
To
I'm
this
sure
day, they have radar on it.
radio attendants probably had anti-aircraft guns and other types of things. So that's where it comes down to. So we know the Canal Zone, but the U.S. actually had influence or had facilities outside the Canal Zone
Throughout
that
the
were
whole
military related.
And that Toboga's always had a radar on it. To this day, the main
Mm-hmm.
VOR navigation radar for aviation is
All right.
Toboga Island.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go talk a little bit about Rio Hato Army Air Base. Basically, 1930s to 1948 is when it existed, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about what happened to it in 1989.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So this is a picture of the flag being lowered at Rio Hato Base in 1948. So this is basically when they were closing it down, and just thought I'd start with that because it's no longer there, but it used to be a military air base. All right. So next one. And one of the things that I struggled with was finding any photographs of these places because I guess since they're military installations, they didn't really have a whole lot of photographs. Um, and so the if I found a picture with a building on it, I put it in here, so you could see it. But you could see there's not a whole lot of there. This is Rio Hato Air Base. It's just like a little. I don't even know what it is. If it's a maintenance yard or a headquarters or barracks or what. But it's pretty desolate.
It's probably all of the above.
Hmm. All right. So the next one is that all these pit photographs are in black and white.
Right.
And so this Rio Hato had these aircraft, and
That's
you
a
see it in black
P-40.
and white. And then that's me at one of these at an air show here in Maryland. And you can see, I don't know if they were painted like this during wartime, but maybe they were, but a lot more color. And so these things, you're going to see a lot of black and white images, but these things look fantastic when they're done up right, man.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and they got to be loud as
Oh yeah.
all. So unfortunately, I didn't colorize any of these things, but this was one of the aircrafts that was at Rio Hato, and it probably had its purpose. And then the next one is a B-10B bomber, made by Martin Aircraft, and you can see it has a lot of window where
Mm-hmm.
people can look out. So they're looking for submarines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they got the big observation in the front.
Well, that circle you see right in the middle of the fuselage, that's an antenna. That circle antenna was for
Right.
navigate for ocean radar.
All right. And then the next one, this is a color version. This is not in Rio Hato, but just I found one. But this is, basically kind of what it looks like. Actually, this is a different. This isn't the Martin. This is the Douglas. I put it in the wrong spot. But you can see that these things were pretty attractive. I mean, you saw them flying around. They probably caught your eye, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All
Especially
right.
you can hear them from a long distance too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was at Florida Field in Gainesville one time, and somebody had the B-25
Right.
bomber and buzzed the stadium. You
Such
could
a
you
cool
could hear
sound.
that thing coming from like a mile
Oh
away, and like,
yeah,
what the hell is
absolutely.
that thing? And then it went right, or like you could see through the fuselage. It's like, what the? He
Yeah.
got busted, but like not too many people have a B-25, but
Right.
that thing was loud. All right, so they actually had the B-24 Liberators at Rio Hato, and so when all these things are in the air, that thing was just loud,
Oh heck yeah, it
loud,
was.
loud, loud.
Heck yeah,
This
it
is
was.
1944.
Yeah, that was a
That
good.
was
That was
some
a
of the
good.
aircraft. So we've seen four different types of aircraft that they had there, and then the next one, um, Boeing P-26s.
That's
Those were
early. That's
there too.
pre-war.
Um,
Yeah.
they got a lot of detail on the colors and stuff. We can't see the colors, unfortunately. And then the next one,
Those that would be red and the tail. Those
it,
stripes would have been red on that.
mhm. And here's a close up. I think of no, that's not the same as a
No,
Boeing. This is something else. I can't read it,
it looked like
but
a
I started realizing that
T-36.
that all of these numbers. I mean, it's like I know the cars. An RX-7
Right.
versus 323, right? So it's you can tell right away if you're familiar with it. I'm not familiar with it, but it must have been something to have all these things there. Then the next image is this, like
Well,
sometimes people had bad luck. This guy
nope.
crashed his plane at Rio Hato.
Didn't work
I
out
hope
for
he
you, brother.
survived it, but he
Right.
may not have. And then the next one, this was me at Santa Clara Camp,
Yes, I remember that place.
and I don't know if you how many people you can pick out of that image, but that green mesh
That's
was used for the
runways.
runways.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely was.
We've talked
And
several
it's
times
all
about
over
that.
Panama. Andrew has
Yeah,
some at
Andrew has
his
some.
at
Yeah.
Las Cascadas, in his bar area. He's got one of those things, and I saw him in Paraiso and other. They were all over. I didn't realize it was salvaged from the airstrip.
Well, they kept stacks of those everywhere because when your airstrip got bombed, you'd immediately
Yeah,
just
you
replace
could
that.
run
You
out there
good to
and
go.
do it. I know,
Yep.
but I mean that stuff was all over,
Yeah,
and
it sure
Rio
was.
Hato Air Base was just around the go over the next coconut tree, and it's over there.
Right.
But there weren't any planes flying, so I never knew it was there.
It's
But
true.
all right. So let's go on the next. So this next one is
That's
1989.
Yeah.
And this, if you can find this write up, this man wrote about his experience there at Rio Hato, December of 1989. I don't know if this is a photograph or what of them parachuting into Rio Hato, but it was on the cover of that, and
It
the
looks
way
like
he
a
describes
painting,
it,
but
I would say he's probably missing a few explosions and um,
right.
some gunfire, but he basically talks about how they had a 9-hour flight to get here, and then they parachuted in, and then the two stealth bombers came and they dropped 4,000-pound bombs. They didn't drop them on the barracks. There's like 850 Panamanians there. They didn't. They didn't drop them on the barracks. They dropped them next to the barracks. They could have easily just.
Let them know what could have hit
They,
you.
they could have just said, "We don't even need to drop
Right.
parachutists
The
in
next
there.
one
We
will
just
hit
dropped
you,
them."
basically.
But so this guy's describing, how the stealth bombers came in first, and then they parachuted in, and then they went to basically do cleanup. There were snipers out, and so they called in some helicopters, gunships, to take out this sniper nest. And he talks about the two helicopters coming in at tree level with all its machine guns going and dropping a bomb on this place. And it said how loud it was, and then he radios in that like all it's all good, you don't need to come back a second time, but I guess they couldn't hear him.
Right.
And then the brigade starts like closing in on this target, and the helicopters come back around and open up fire again.
Oh, nice.
And there were two or maybe three U.S. friendly fire casualties as a result.
Mm,
And they're basically saying it's noisy, you can't hear, you can't do
sure.
all this stuff, and
That's what they call the
in
fog of war.
fog of war. And then they found one of the parachutists, his chute didn't open.
Oh man.
So they lost 4 U.S. soldiers in that fight, and I don't recall if it says how many Panamanians were lost as a result as well. But it's a very graphic depiction about what
Sure
happened
is.
at that base, and then they talk about how 3 days later they were said, gear up, we're sending you to Panama. And they're like,
Hmm.
we're gonna have 3 days worth of rations and
Right.
3 days worth of nicotine,
Yeah. Right.
and we're all going through withdrawals and stuff like that. So it's just things that you don't think about, and then you realize what these guys are doing. Even it's just amazing what
And it's amazing in the sense that this is a war zone for these guys. They're in a war. They're what they've
yeah.
prepared for all this time. Panamanians might as well be Russians, be Chinese, be whatever. They're just an enemy, and this is a war zone. But just a few miles away, it's the Canal Zone, and there's still a lot of Americans just
Well,
being Zonians out there, and it's
well,
right next to each other.
100 yards away is the church camp, Baptist church camp. It's
Right.
like we could have easily been there for
Sure. Had a retreat going on.
had a retreat going on. Exactly.
That's amazing.
You know.
Wow. Cool.
But it's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
sure is.
so let's go on to the next one. Pan American Highway.
Right.
So because of Rio Hato and those bases, the U.S. built the Pan American Highway up to Rio Hato, and this is them building that road. Probably going right past Chorrera and Airhan, that desolate area you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Um, And I remember going on that road. It used to be kind of narrow, but it was concrete,
Yes.
and you'd go slow, and then you'd come into that checkpoint in Chorrera and stuff like that.
You could tell when you were on your way back into the zone, coming from the interior, when you got to that smooth blacktop, had all
Yep.
the curves on. You were like,
Yep.
okay, we're back in the American part of the roads now.
All right. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah. A little quick shout out to my Mexican friends watching tonight.
Oh,
Hello
nice.
there, guys.
Right on. Buena noche.
So you can see that road. It's narrow.
Wow. And look at that. HB's mentioned that he has plans for that highway. They're falling apart. Amazing.
So that was built. That was built because they had to get to all those airstrips and stuff.
Right.
And
Look at HB's right down the road from there. He's in Santa Clara right now. Right
and
on.
and when you used to come down Capira Hill or
Ricky's place.
Capira Hill, Campana Hill, and there was a little town called Salices.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? Or Salices?
Yeah, I think
No.
I recall seeing that.
SALI, like JECS.
Hmm.
There was a little river there. There was always a man that was selling like crabs and stuff. And there's a big tree, and then there was like a a Spanish like hacienda looking building, and they always called it the halfway house.
Yes, I remember that.
And the reason it was called the halfway house is because it was halfway between the Canal Zone and Rio Hato.
Right. It's
So
like
it wasn't a
right?
halfway house for like drug addicts. It was
The midway
halfway
point.
for refreshments.
Yeah, midway point. Yeah. It was like a hotel and a restaurant.
Motel, yeah.
Ringo's ran it.
So that was it. Okay, so that's the story behind that highway, and because we had air bases out there, they needed to get to them. That was a dangerous road. That was a dangerous road. All right, so Sosolo. We talked about Sosolo, and I didn't know where it was a couple weeks ago. I'd seen it before. I just couldn't remember it was. But we were talking about, go to the next one, the Goethals Memorial, where they were thinking about putting it. We talked about over in Cristobal at the pier. And then we also talked about Sosolo being an alternative spot. And go to the next one. And so it had a couple of designs for this. And Sosolo is actually, you can see on the map, particularly on the right side, it's the area closer to La Boca. And at one point, there used to be a little town of La Boca there that became the quarry. And then it came part of the tank farm, and I guess now marine traffic control is there. But the part of Sosa Hill that we all know that we see was called Sosa High, and then the other part was called Sosa Low, and that overlooks the entrance to the Panama Canal, and so that would make sense that you would have the Goethals Memorial like perched up there somewhere that you could see it. Just like on the Atlantic side, they were going to put it at the pier where you could see it coming in.
Is Sosa Low where Tabernia came to the top of Tabernia, and then you would go up to Sosa Hill? Would that be Sosa Low?
No. That's over. If you look at the map where it says Sosa High, and then you go over and you see East La Boca.
Uh-huh.
That's Tabernia area.
Got it. Yeah.
Coming up.
So Sosa Low is way down by.
Way down. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
And you can see it in this image on the right side.
Oh, you can see
Sosa. It's actually two hills. Sosa Hill is two hills.
Uh-huh. So
but we couldn't really ever see that because they back then it was still you could see where they quarried it out. But it was a lot different. There's like trees on that road, and there's buildings there. All that stuff was gone.
Yeah, that stuff is all gone for the new bridge too, by the way.
Yeah.
Big chunk of that hill is gone.
And so what I'm dying to know, though, if you look where the dry dock is, and the pier sticks out a little bit, there's like a little inlet, and you can see some like boats parked in there. Now it's that area is a dry dock as well. But I was wondering what they put in there, if that was like for tugboats or what. But just go to the next one, and it's a different angle, but you can see the two Sosa Hills, the Sosa High and the Low, where it falls a little bit better. La Boca is on the right side, the tank farms. And when we were doing the show on the La Boca Silver, they
Yeah.
had like the agricultural fields. You can see those between the tanks.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then there's a whole bunch of buildings. I guess they're residential, multifamily houses and stuff like that.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
And
And that would be directly across from what would be the La Boca gas station now.
yeah, the La Boca gas station isn't in this image. It's down
a little further down. Okay.
little further down, because the church is almost the cutoff
That's
point.
true. Yeah. That's true.
So you don't even see the other entrance into La Boca in this image.
Right.
But that area there where the tanks are, that's Sosa Low.
Sosa Low, yeah.
Yeah. Now
So I
that's
never
gonna
really
be
heard that
where-
before.
Yeah,
And
me neither.
and
That's
so
where
I
the
just,
pillars to the new bridge are going to be now, right around that
Yeah.
area where those big tanks are.
but you can see how much of that hill was
Quarried out.
quarried.
Off, yeah.
They took a big chunk out of it.
Sure did.
On two
Open up the whole
sides.
face of it. Two sides. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Good
amazing.
stuff.
And I always looked at Sosa Hill as one just almost round hill in the sense where here you can see that
Yeah,
it's
like a
almost
volcano,
bean-shaped.
right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Four sides. Yeah.
That's
All
amazing.
right,
Great
let's go to the
picture, man.
next one. This is one of the first images of aerial flights. It's around 1917,
Yeah.
and this is going over Fort Amador.
And there's a yacht club. It's already there.
Exactly,
Oh,
right?
you can see the yacht club. Yeah.
Pacific
I love
Pacific Sailfish Club.
Oh, that's the best.
All right, and then
That's exactly where we are right now.
yeah, exactly
Little
right.
bar.
So I had to put it in there. Then the next one is, I think, from one of those planes or similar. Whoever
Yeah.
took the other shot going over the Causeway Islands, and you can see they're under construction.
Yes, they are. Look at that.
They're not even done yet, but you can see those rails that loop around.
Yes.
They get up,
To circle your way up there.
circle your way up there. And I can't tell if the gun is there or they're just
yeah, they're probably still prepping it.
Yeah. So this is probably somewhere between the first flight across the isthmus was in 1912.
Okay, so this is shortly there.
So this is after 1912, and the guns were installed by 1917.
Okay.
So this is probably, that's why I'm thinking this is around 1917.
Makes
when these
sense.
came in.
Well, you look at that aircraft wing and all the wiring and stuff.
Right,
That's certainly
exactly.
very early aircraft.
It's like a cloth wing too.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's move on. So going through and doing my military research, I found these things online, and just cool pins. In this said it was the Canal Zone headquarters. I don't know exactly what that is, but I just saw like about profile of Balboa on there.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was neat that they incorporated into their
Sure.
into their stuff.
Yeah.
So then going on, I remember seeing these patches
Mm-hmm.
all over the place, but I didn't realize that they belong to a whole bunch of different things. So we've got the 33rd Infantry Regiment, and then you got the Panama 534th Military Police. But I guess they're all
well. I know, like during our time, they had the 193rd Infantry Brigade was down there.
Right. So then you go on the next one, and then you got some that just say Panama, and others that say Jungle Expert,
but apparently the ship and the with the cross was the Panama insignia.
Yeah. So that's where this is where my my knowledge gets fuzzy. It's kind of like, okay, I know what that is. I've seen it. I don't know what it means.
Right.
But it has to mean something. And I think as a Zonian, I ought to know what that means.
Right. We should.
And I ought to be able to say the 534th was here. The such and such was over there. These guys did this. These guys did that. These guys, this is what they were responsible for and all that stuff. And there's just so much. I mean, there's
Well, that was one of the things we learned when Ray Maston was on with our Rams show. That a lot of those families post Vietnam War, they didn't want to bring them back to the United States, but they had to bring them back somewhere. And so all of these bases, like Panama, started suddenly a big influx of service people were just getting stationed there because the war was over.
Yeah. So then this next one is, the 45th Reconnaissance Infantry. It's like, okay, there's just one more thing. I never heard of that before.
Fight to know. What a cool slogan.
And then the next one, the 2nd Field Artillery Regiment, Fort Clayton, Fort Davis.
Wow.
And then I've seen images where soldiers with the pith helmets on, they're using the mules to take like a machine gun up to some type of outpost in the
That was
jungle.
probably still the primary transport for guns. Was a
Right.
mule.
And so it makes complete sense that you'd see a burro, a mule on it, because they're carrying their artillery or pulling a cannon up or something like that. All right. So these are like Canal Zone symbols I've never seen before.
They really are. They are part of the Canal Zone. No kidding.
I like that one though.
Yeah. And the next one, I don't know what it is, but it's cool as heck, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you went there you go. I don't know what that is. An army patch.
Like it's like the canal, and then it branches out at the Atlantic side, and the 3 stars on the Pacific side.
Yeah, I mean, those are the mysteries I need to find out.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I've never seen this one, but I think I've seen that slogan before. No ground to give. I think when the 193rd would like do their parades and stuff, you'd see it on there. But the bayonet, just like the cool.
Yeah.
The next one, they called it the Hellgate cloth, and I want to say that
probably the guys that repair the track, the airfields.
I don't know, but it's kind of like somebody had this on the uniform and they had a job to do, and it's a specific job to do, and it was to defend the canal.
It was important enough that they made a patch for it, so you weren't just passing through.
Yeah, so it's kind of like all these guys had these specialty things, and that's what they trained to do, and they were there for their purpose and stuff. And I had no clue.
Yeah. Well, my dad has told me so many times stories of doing, different runs down to South America with the Air Force, and everything started and finished with Panama. I mean, Panama was the last outpost for the Americans before you went down into Latin America.
All right. So the next one, U.S. NAVs. I think this is just it says Order of the Ditch, and when I did a transit of canal on a Navy ship, they gave me a certificate that's called the Order of the Ditch. So maybe it was related
kind of
to
an
that.
honorary thing.
Yeah, but just one of those things. It's like that maybe that's what it was. And this one, I thought it was cool. Look at the logo. What the words say.
Defenders of the Crossroads. Yes.
Crossroads of the world, right?
Yeah, indeed.
That's us.
So it's just like that's pretty cool. I don't know what the 37th Fighter Group is. I need to go learn it. I don't know if they're Rio Hato, if they're Madden, or
remember in World War II, you also had a huge expansion, right? Because you had a war, so you're creating all these groups, and then shortly after they disband them. But for 3 or 4 years, they are a Army air group, and then the war's over. We don't need you anymore. Get rid of it.
I love that thing. Defenders of the Crossroads. All right. So this is going back to this 1925. And this is another instance where the U.S. was asked by the president of Panama, come on in. In 1925, they had these riots, basically tenant riots. I guess the people were upset with the rents.
Yeah.
And they had strikes and stuff like that. And so they called in, basically like we're seeing, calling in the National Guard and go, keep order, right?
Right.
But they called in the U.S. military. So, they didn't, I mean, they probably had their police force. They didn't have National Guard probably in 1925. But, when they needed help, they called the U.S.
They knew where to look.
And so these are 2 images of the U.S. patrolling Panama City streets, and this one, it says Central Avenue. I think if you can see I'm losing my my
Yeah, I seen
my
pictures of it
image
in
here, but
Santana.
I think that's where the train is crossing,
Yeah.
in the image behind me.
Correct.
But you know, U.S. troops are down there, and you know they're not throwing tear gas at people. Not it's they're
No, but their
just to
presence is there.
protect. Right. So you know the U.S. and Panama have had relations for a long time, but I never heard
Mhm.
about that before. And so basically, it was saying that they had you know some tenant leaders. You know they were banned and they were deported, and anarchists and socialists, and their leaflets, their flags were banned. But then in 7 years later, in 1932, they organized another strike. So you know, it didn't last long.
Lay low for
Um,
a while.
so Albrook, I think I spelled it wrong. I don't know, maybe not.
No, it looks good.
Armfield. All right, so go on. I can't. There you go. So this is President Roosevelt, not Teddy, um,
FDR.
FDR, at Albrook Field doing a parade.
Oh, pass and review.
And you can see Sosa there on the
Yeah, I
right,
was gonna
Ancon
say
on the left.
Los Sosa's gone now.
Well, because it's behind it.
Oh, it's behind it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right. There's the
Yeah,
second.
because
The first.
this is like looking towards Balboa High School. You,
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're in Albrook, looking correct. It's on the
but
other
Yeah,
you can
this is
side.
imagine if
and
this
this is
was
to the
in
right of the
color,
runway. This is
those.
where those big hangars were in Albrook.
Yeah, they're right in front of the hangars.
Yeah, because to the behind these aircraft would have been the runway that would go in between Sosa Hill and Ancon when
Yeah.
on that flight path.
One year I went to change of command there, and we were right in front of the hangars, and they you know had a small march, and they
Oh,
changed the
right on.
command to
Probably similar
McCullough for
view then.
somebody who was coming in there. But you know, so there you go. You got President of the United States there on Albrook Field, um, and then um,
So
so,
this picture here,
yeah,
that I wonder what that is facing. And I wonder if that's on
I,
the other side.
I think that was going to be the um,
Is that the Kane Brothers warehouse that ends up becoming?
no. I think this is looking back towards
Like
the
Clayton, towards Clayton and
yeah, I
Corozal.
think so.
Yeah, which then tells me that that's the right side, which is would have become the behind that big building. Maybe is where the new airport terminal for
Could be.
So that's why I'm wondering if that
But these
big
are
building is the Kane Brothers warehouse. Remember
yeah,
that big huge fire in the 70s?
yeah. But this is like a bunch of P-38s.
Yes,
You know, and can you imagine? They're all silver. They probably, you know, it probably would looked incredible. The
I'll
next one
bet.
too is more some of the more, and you can kind of see like that. That's looking, I think, towards like
I think that is looking
Corundu
at
or something like that.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I think so. Well,
Mhm.
interesting. It'd be interesting to see how that runway
Yeah.
is laid out. But huh, that's cool. What a great picture though, man. And that's quite the armada there, man. You look at
Yeah.
that, they ain't playing around.
Yeah.
That's
But look at the next one.
yikes. Look at
They had the
that.
Grandpappy. You know,
Yeah.
XC-105. Never heard of that before, but I know what
Uh,
it is now. And it was like the one of the only ones I think that it was the one
it's the only
only
one ever
made.
made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was in Albrook.
Look at that airfield today, Helaber International number. Yeah, well, not for
Mhm.
long.
Yeah. All right. So then there's a kind of a close up of that same one. You
Nice.
know, get a little more detail.
Yeah.
And I guess because of the clear glass, they probably use that for reconnaissance too.
Sure. Or that's the
But
bombardier.
yeah,
So
but I mean they weren't bombing.
no, but
So
that's what it was
yeah,
a bomber
but
nonetheless.
I don't know what it was for. But I have to learn about it. And then
That's a
just another aircraft
P-47.
that was there that looks really sharp.
That's a
You know,
P-47. That's a Thunderbolt. That's a great aircraft.
you know, it's got the thunderbolts on the wheels.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
then what I thought was the coolest thing, the next one, they had the B-17s there.
Yeah,
They had the
sure
B-17s
did.
at Albrook and Rio Hato.
Look at that. That's a great
God, I
shot.
love. You remember that show, 12 O'clock High?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! I love
Yes.
watching that show. I
That
didn't
was
know that they were
fantastic.
flying right over the
Right?
house,
Yeah.
all that
Mhm.
time.
And a
And
great sound of those things too,
I think
man.
you can see the canal in the bot
That's
in
what it looks like. That it
yeah.
sure looks like it.
It looks like Ancon Hill in the distance, and then maybe they're like around Pedro McGill,
Mhm.
Miraflores.
Yeah, that's what it certainly looks like.
Mhm. I wish they were in color.
I know,
All
right?
right. So then this next one, this is 1966 at Albrook,
Okay.
and it was the U2 station. So it was there for a while,
Interesting.
and I never knew that the U2 had flown out of there until just a couple months ago.
Right.
And it's like that must have been pretty cool. They flew right over the high school and stuff. I
Sure
think
did. Yeah.
they probably are cheating on your tests, looking in your papers there.
They could see it.
That's what they were doing. They were stealing Rams plays,
That's what it
giving them
was.
to the Cowboys.
The Albrook Jets wanted to
That's
try and get
probably
a
what they
win.
were doing.
Well,
All
because
right.
they won the first year they were in the league, the Albrook
Yeah.
Jets.
Why? That recon.
But they had their own patch. And I'm trying to think, is that a iguana on top
It
of a
would make
YouTube thing?
sense. It would make sense to be an iguana because that's the lizard of Panama.
Yeah, just cool things. And like,
Uh,
how come we don't see those things?
uh,
I mean, somebody did. I would imagine if
right.
your dad was in the military, he came home and he had one on his
I'll have to
uniform
ask
or
my dad
whatever.
what
It
he
was
had.
just no big deal, right?
He was stationed in Albrook.
Yeah.
They opened up the photo recon
Hmm.
office in Albrook.
Right. So remember the pad area called the pad at Corundu?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I just realized it was called the Pacific Air Depot.
Huh.
That was what its original intention, and it was part of Corundu, and it had its own like squadron out there.
So they shared the
Um,
airfield, but they had their own air depot.
I guess
Interesting.
I don't know, but so that's where you get. This is the 30th Fighter Squadron. I don't know what the other squadrons were, but maybe the ones that had the Thunderbolts had one, and then the ones that had the
Yeah,
P-38s had one. The ones that had the Grandpappy had another one, and the U2 guys had their own, but they all used the same airfield.
correct.
And that's where it's like I need to do some research and put a big org chart together. But I imagine if you're in the military and stuff, it's just like second nature to you. You know all that stuff because it's in your vocabulary. And
Yeah, yeah, and that aircraft there at the time, that's a frontline fighter then because that's towards the end of the war there. That's the Air Cobra. That was
okay, so we go to France Field, and then this guy, his name was Robert Fairbairn, and he has a story online that I found, and he joined the army, or they took him to training. He had 7.5 hours in an aircraft, and then they sent him to Panama.
hey, you're ready, dude. That's all
You're
you need in
ready.
Panama.
And so
Yep.
his first assignment was at France Field,
Nice.
and then he's got this cool patch on his website, and I'm like, what is that? A wasp? And you know,
Sting.
can't say, but I
The
had
fighter
seen
squadron. You got the
this.
Stinger.
I had seen this next patch earlier,
Okay.
and I was thinking, what is the red and the yellow? Is that the sun and going through the canal or whatnot? I don't know. But go
Okay.
back to the other one. Look at the eyes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at that.
Like, that's the patch.
There it is. No kidding. Yeah, Alpha unit pre-World War
I'm
II.
like,
Okay.
I'm glad it's in color because I had seen this
Yeah, because
um
you may not have spotted if it was black and white.
on the plane. It's black and white. You'll see it on the plane, but you can't see it. But it's like, oh, great, see all that
Interesting.
stuff. And this is the 43rd Fighter Squadron and they've got the P-38s there,
Yeah, I sure
and
do.
it looks like a P-38.
Yeah.
France Field, and then he got a shot of P-40s in there, just cool. And then he gets assigned to Isla del Rey, which is out in the Pearl Islands,
Yeah.
and so then he's out there, and he's
Oh, and there's a wasp.
yeah, they got that wasp there. See, but
Yeah.
it's black and white. You
Yeah,
can't
it sure
tell.
is.
You would
No,
never
you
know that
definitely wouldn't.
that's the
No, you
patch, and then you
wouldn't for
see the
sure.
color, and you're like, I get
Good
it.
eye. Good spot there,
I
man.
get it. So then he gets assigned to Madden.
I've been to that one.
Yeah, but anyway, they have Curtis P-40 Warhawks there, and that's
Mhm.
29th Fighter Squadron. I guess that's something different. But Madden had a base, and then I thought this is on Facebook, and this is what I'm saying. People in the military were down there and they took photographs, and then they leave.
Sure.
I want to see those photographs they took. you know, but you're only
Well,
going to get a
what was the
photograph like this
interaction
from
with
someone that
Zonians though,
worked
Zach?
there, that's working on a turret
Yeah.
at the, and then 1944.
The
I don't know
war's still
how it
going
got
on.
colorized, but that's just cool.
Yeah, it sure is. And I
They,
wonder what the interaction with Zonians was. Like your dad. Your dad was born in 38. And so I mean, he was what? He's 6, 7 years old and at least old enough to be aware of this stuff. Maybe not,
well, my dad was in Wisconsin at that time.
Oh, that's right.
He
That's
he
right.
ca- he came down in the military in the 50s.
Okay.
And he was stationed in one of those barracks in Amador,
Yeah,
right
okay.
on the canal.
Wow.
But this is what I'm saying. We've got to reach out to um, military.
Yeah.
There's Zonians,
There's a big story there, man.
and there's a big story, and I know nothing about it,
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we
and
know a
it's
little
hard to
more now
find.
thanks to you, but
It's hard to find stuff.
yeah.
So then this one, another web Facebook page. My dad in Panama prior to World War II. I mean, the guy looks like he's about
Oh,
8 years old in that picture.
yeah.
It's like, he's probably 18 years old, but that's, the plane's probably pretty big, and
Right.
he's out there. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but I put it in Madden just because I didn't know where it went.
It's a cool picture though. And
Cool
for all we
picture.
know, that guy
Yeah.
might have been a civilian, that his dad was, stationed down in Panama, or something. And he just
But he
happened.
says my dad is, so you would think if it's in 1944, they're not letting civilians out in the planes.
Yeah, no, yeah, he just looks awfully young, but then again, it's not a
All
very
right.
clear
So
picture.
then Agua Dulce, next one, Agua Dulce Airfield. They have this patch. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Does every airfield have its own patch?
right.
That's pretty cool. It's got the galleon, Christopher Columbus
Yeah,
galleon there.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean, all right, the galleon that's in the Canal Zone seal. Then they have this thing called the Douglas B-18A Bolo. So be on the lookout.
Right.
Agua Dulce um,
He's got that
Airfield.
radar antenna on it, that round one,
hmm Yeah, and then
and that's them in the air.
yeah, and you
Wow.
can see they look a lot different in color than they do black
Yeah,
and
no
white, don't
kidding.
they?
No kidding.
I wish these pictures had sound. Then
Yeah.
they had the P-40 Warhawk, so they must have had a lot of those down there.
Yeah.
And then Fort de Lesseps, it was, we don't really talk about it, but I found this cool picture, and this is the D Company 760th Military Police Battalion, Fort de Lesseps. I just thought their uniforms are cool as heck.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And the next one is the whole group of them. So they probably were picking up drunk sailors and stuff,
Heck yeah.
because Fort de Lesseps wasn't that big. Then Chorrera had a airstrip, and then what I found interesting about these things, you can kind of see the propeller in the middle of that image.
Oh,
And
yeah,
you have
yeah,
to
yeah.
go to the next one. You see it a little bit better,
Oh, look at that. That's their little hangars.
but they're called dummy planes.
Huh.
So these planes don't fly, but they're
Right.
just made to look like.
Well, they did that. I mean, that was a big, big deal back then.
Mhm.
Even along the coast of England, they
Right,
did this with
right, right.
inflatable ones to
They
fake
do
where the invasion
balloons and
was coming
stuff
from.
like that.
Yeah.
So then we'll go to Howard, and
Big
Howard
one.
was basically built because we talked about France Field wasn't suitable, and so this airstrip's a mile long,
Yeah. You can barely see the water up at the top of it there.
and
So,
all right, at the very end they're going. So this is looking towards the water,
yeah.
and then the next one, you know, to me it looks like Florida when you
It sure does.
it look like that, but that's at Howard 1943, and then I just put in a 1970 image. The next one. Um,
Wow, look at HB. My grandfather was the first to land a bomber on an aircraft carrier leading to the little raid on Japan. Ended up
all right.
very good. Man, you got quite the
That's
legacy there, HB.
that's a cool story. The Doolittle raid, man.
Yeah, indeed it is.
That's cool.
That's the opening scene of the original Midway movie from the 70s. Where they started
Okay.
out flying over Japan, over Tokyo in the bombers.
Right.
Very cool. And that's
So then
Howard
this is Howard in 1970. So it just looks a little bit different
now. Yeah,
after it's
certainly.
had a few years on it.
Right.
And then I found this one. I just threw it in here. This is them closing Howard Airstrip in 1999. I guess it's reopened.
Right. Yeah. Panama
So,
Pacific.
yeah. All right. So then we go on. They also captured some German airplanes in Peru, and they brought those up to Howard Field, and so this was
Mhm.
on there. And again, the Germans were around. They were in
South America, they had a big
South
footprint.
America, and they actually were trying to coordinate an attack from the south, and with the Japanese. I think they called it Operation Pelican,
Hmm.
um, and they were going to launch airplanes from a submarine that was specifically designed to have
Yes.
a airplane, and that could come in and bomb the canal or the bomb Madden Dam. All right, the next one is an Italian. Of course, the Italian and the Germans were Axis powers, and so they confiscated that one. That would ended up in Howard as well. Just things that we don't really think about, that the
Right.
enemy was all around,
Sure.
and so we owe a lot of gratitude for all those folks that went down and were protecting us, and
Well, that's a
we really don't talk about it. So this
no.
this book, I put the cover on it. Because you can see some of these we've seen pictures of these planes, but not in their colors. And
Correct.
like you were saying, the one that has the red and white stripes on the
Mhm.
tail and stuff. I just wish we could see those in those images I have.
Right.
How fantastic those would be. But this looks like a really good resource. And you see that little bee or a similar type of bee
Yeah.
up there. And so it'd be interesting to catalog all that stuff and get to know what it means and who goes where.
Sure, and when they arrived and so forth.
Right. And then Coco Solo, you can see, I think it's Coco Solo,
Yeah.
but it's got like the float plane. And I
Mhm.
think because it's just, you can just look, it's all swampy around there.
Yeah. That was
And
right
that's,
behind what would have become eventually the, Cristobal High School.
and you can see all the lumber, the trees that are,
Mhm.
I'm sure that they put those down in the ground for stabilization.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then I found this one, which is Bob Hope at Coco Solo Hospital.
Wow, look at that.
I don't know what year it was.
Looks like
I
he's the
cut
one
off.
laying down on the bed.
Yeah, he's in the bed. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it just that's that's pretty cool.
That
I
is
mean,
cool, dude.
he went and visited the troops all. I never knew he came to Panama. So
No, he was in Coco Solo. Check that
yeah,
out,
and so
man.
just another P-38 photo. Some of the planes that they have.
That probably
This
had to
was,
be one of the funnest planes to fly in the wars, that
yeah.
P-38, man.
The funniest thing is that this book. Go to the next one. The title is called Warplane Color Gallery, and none of them are in color. But just a couple of different planes that were there,
Yeah.
different styles. But there are lots of planes,
Mhm.
lots and lots of
There was a
planes.
big aviation presence in
Right?
Panama.
And they had their
Remember Sniper?
casualties. You can see that red and white stripe
Yeah.
um, wing tail back there.
Looks like
Now
an
that you
early
know what it
bomb.
looks like, and then this was on the cover. The next one, this is on the cover of that book,
Yeah.
but you
That's
can't see it.
A39.
You can just see it in black and white. But now you
Mhm.
go to the other one, you could see it. And then this last photo, just the same thing. I think just lots of different types of airplanes and fighters on there. And that is my show for tonight.
That is
All right, I
awesome.
loved
That
it.
is awesome, awesome.
So
It's really fascinating, Dave, how really the sheer amount of military presence that we had out there, that we didn't ever really realize that we had, to that extent. We Howard, Albrook, Clayton, Kobe, and whatever on the Atlantic side. But yeah, I mean, God, they were all
yeah,
over the place.
all this. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff
Yeah,
going
man.
on. It's. I mean, I can't wait to read more stuff about him, because when you read the Panama Canal stuff, it's primarily civilian,
Yeah.
and it's primarily civilian gold.
Correct. Correct.
Um,
But the military's been there. They were the first ones
Yeah.
there.
Military there, and all types of things.
And they're still there.
Still there. But they built roads, they built schools, they built all types of stuff. I can't wait to get into like jungle survival school and
That'll be
all that type of
fascinating.
stuff. Plus all the secret stuff they probably did there too.
Well, hopefully with Bud Tristano's appearance, we'll start getting more of those folks from the military. I know now that the Howard Air Force Base group, they tune in quite a bit into the show as well. So we can start, getting a hold of some of the people that have been there prior to that, in the early 60s and 50s and whatnot. But yeah, this is awesome, man. This is really, really cool way to show us another facet of the American presence in the zone, which, as we go along more and more in this Canal Zone story, we realize that, there was more to the Canal Zone and the Zonian than just the people in Balboa and Los Rios and Ancon.
Yeah, because we worked either electrical division or housing or schools, right? But in the military, it wasn't that way. Every base had its own little mission.
Absolutely.
Right?
And to think, like you said, we looked at when Bud Tristano was on last week or 2 weeks ago, it was interesting to talk about, like he said, most people didn't realize, we see looking out the window and whatever, that's like the C-141's always lifting up out of Howard, right? And the C-130s and all that. And so there was a lot of aviation activity there, but they only had 4 aircraft permanently based down there at that time, and
in the 70s,
yeah.
Well,
so,
but that was Howard. That was Howard, though. Albrook had a bunch of planes in Albrook.
Well, Albrook was more of a training base and whatnot, where Howard was more of a logistics type base.
I always say that it was those airplanes that's why I can't play baseball, is because I was sitting there at the Pee Wee League just watching the planes fly overhead and the helicopters fly in and then the train go by.
That was the one we saw the most, was the helicopters. In our era there, helicopter traffic was probably the biggest air traffic.
They had these little Cessnas that flew in, these little 2-prop things that would go in. But when you're 8 years old, that's all you looked at. It's standing out in center field.
Yeah.
Chasing a baseball.
But imagine as a kid in the 40s or 50s down there and seeing B-17s and stuff flying by and coming in, and that's got to be awesome.
There's a photo like taken at Balboa High School looking up, and you can see like a B-17.
Yes, it's a big 4-engine propeller bomber. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But can you imagine looking up and then having the U-2 fly over and stuff?
Right.
I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, because the high school was barely a quarter mile from the end of the runway.
Well, the roof has the red lights on top of it, so you don't run into them.
Exactly.
And that's what we learned about. They had to move the Goethals Memorial over because it was too close to the flight path.
Correct.
So
yeah. No, this is cool, man. This is awesome that we're learning some of that military history, which again was a huge part of the Canal Zone experience, man.
And I basically just showed you airplanes.
Right.
Each base probably has a whole year's worth of stuff you could talk about.
Sure. There's a story behind each one of those. Absolutely.
And then reading about these different, like the guy's experience at Rio Hato during Just Cause. I mean, there's got to be 1,000 stories of all different things that went on.
Wasn't that Noriega's like home base, Rio Hato?
Well, that later on became a base for the Panamanian Air Force. Yes, they did have quite a presence there. Yeah, it was interesting. But wow. Well, cool. Well, Dave, again, another awesome show, another fascinating trip into the Canal Zone history that we had no idea was there. And it was right under our noses all this time. And thank God you do that research for us. So what do we have in store for October?
I'm going to recuperate after this one.
Actually, it's more military if you want to dive deeper into it. I think it's fascinating.
I'll probably, because there's a lot of information that I couldn't put in here. I told you I was only going to limit my slides, which is about 80 less than I normally have. And we still ran long, but
no, it was good. It was entertaining. It was engaging.
Yeah. So what I probably will do is I'll go through my inventory that I didn't put on, and then just maybe try to make my next presentation a little bit shorter.
Right
and
on, right on. Well, they're
just
always
focus
enjoyable either
on
way, man. They're
one thing.
engaging. Like you and I chatted earlier in the week. You get caught up talking about it, and it just the conversation flows, and then people are throwing stuff in the chat as well that keeps engaging and carries it over.
Yeah.
So that's what we do, and
But
everybody
you
loves
know,
doing it anyway. So
but
it
it's
is
yeah,
what it is.
it's there's like I said, there's so much history,
Yeah,
and there's so much, and again, you can't read one book and find all of this stuff. You got to pick. You learn a sentence here and the other half a sentence there, and
yeah.
you put two and two together, and
And then you come out here on the first of the month, and this is where you learn about it.
Connect
This is
the
where
yeah,
dots.
it all
right,
gets
because
put together and put out there.
it's yeah. So everyone has a little piece, and it's kind of going out and getting all the little pieces, and then
Yeah,
trying to collect them and organize them. But it gets to be a lot of information.
yeah, certainly.
And I don't have any sophisticated stuff here
No, but you have a passion for it, and that's
to
what makes it
to pull
successful.
it all together. So it does make it a little bit challenging to, okay, where did I put this? Where did I find that? Where is it? I know I have the, what date was that? I know it
Yeah,
was, I can't
right.
remember what that treaty name was or who that general was or whatever it is. But yeah, we'll figure out. I think we need to weave the military a little bit more in our discussion
Couldn't
about
agree
Canal
more.
Zone.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And this is a great start for that as well. Between this and Bud's visit, yeah, we definitely start
And
incorporating more of that because that's a
and
huge part of it. And in all honesty, I think in totality, as far as Americans in the zone during that American era, I think the military would far surpass Zonians simply because they were
yeah,
shipping in constantly, you
sure,
know?
sure,
So
sure, yeah,
when I
exactly.
spent 19 years there, these people spent 2 years and someone was 2 years behind them, another one behind them. So, in that 4 years, there was a ton of military, cycling through.
Yeah, and they all, and I'm sure when you go to, if you're stationed there, you get told, "Oh, you've got to go see this. You got to go see
Yeah.
that."
Well, that's what
So
Bud said. It was to him to watch, they pack their car up on Friday, they're gonna go somewhere and go for
right.
an adventure and learn something, and that was part of the experience of being in these countries, and we see some of that on Facebook. Some of our
Mhm.
friends that are currently in the military, especially like in Europe and stuff, where every so often they're at some castle somewhere, and so they're taking in Europe and all those beautiful places,
Mhm.
and we saw the same thing here with a lot of these
Well,
folks.
what I found too is just my family's history is that they wrote letters and sent them back to the United States, and there was the person in the United States that kept them. Is how we learn about it.
Right.
Hmm.
Yes, it was the history came from America, not from Panama.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's like, thank God someone saved it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never know about it, and I think that happens, especially in the military too. People left, but they still have those memories and those
Yeah.
keepsakes and all that stuff. But it's like, well, now how do we share it? We have the internet now. We can put all this stuff online. Like there was one of the images I showed you of the Aspen Wall. It was it was posted on the 23rd of August, and the guy was saying, can you believe everything you see in an image? Because I see the image, but I don't know that the U.S. military ever wore that type of hat or had that type of sidearm or this or that
Right.
and the other stuff. I don't believe it's an Aspen wall type of thing.
Sure.
And then it's like, oh, and he didn't leave his contact information. I haven't tried Google him or not. I probably could find him, but it's like I have the other photo that shows these guys unloading
Right.
out in Cologne Bay. They're in these
Exactly the
they're
way you say they didn't look.
yeah, so it's kind of like they were there that day,
Yeah.
and that's how they got there. And you can see, like in this image, you could see the mast of the ship in the background, but then when you're on in the bay, you can see the ship in the other way. So it's kind of like
It corroborates it.
it corroborates it, yeah. So you can see it. So someone could say, I don't understand that, but then you can say, well, here's some other evidence that you see that, and that's kind of how I've been finding it. Is that you can read a book and it'll tell you one thing, and then you read another book and it tells you something a little bit different, and then maybe a third one, and you're like, okay, here's the story.
Yeah.
Everyone just told a little bit about it because you can't write about everything.
Yeah. Enough to give you the background that you can then put the story together. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and again, I come back here and I revise some of the things I say because I learned something
Yeah.
a
Certainly.
little bit more detail.
Well, it's
Because
always fun, and then we have people that'll chime in. HB certainly is
yeah,
a huge
sure.
history resource for us, and
Yep.
and so it's great to do that, and all the other stuff. So anyhow, listen, Dave, again, thank you so much. We absolutely love having you on Friday nights, and I mean, you know, in spite of the tech errors and issues that we're having, and I am going to get to the bottom of that. I'm going to find out what is going on with that damn YouTube channel. But either way, guys, if you didn't get to catch it, you'll catch it on the rebound the show here. Dave, have an awesome September. We will see you in October for our next history lesson, man. Thanks again, man.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.
Later.
We'll see you. All right, man. Hey, that was cool, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, you always learn with David, man. That's for sure, man.
Yeah, you're not lacking for a lesson here. That's for sure, man. No doubt about it. So, but good stuff, guys. Again, I got to find out what's going on here. It is definitely something with that specific YouTube channel, because obviously we were able to broadcast to the other YouTube channel last second. I was able to set that up, but I'm gonna figure that out.
I think we have to download. We had to eliminate a bunch of videos.
Yeah,
I remember when I did see it, it was like 99, 98 or something like that. It was really high.
But you know what? Last week we had the error, but it still allowed us to broadcast afterwards. So I think something glitched up when we set one up one day, and it's kind of set up that way. So I think if we uninstall and reinstall it, it'll reset itself.
Perhaps. Yeah, let's get that fixed. Yeah.
But anyway, guys, thank you very much. Again, great start for the month. Some great history here. Later on in the month, it's still, and I don't want to jinx it, but I'll go ahead and put it out there tentatively. We're going to have James Slater joining us. James Slater is a rock and roller from back in the day, from the days of the Viva band days. And he's now a very well-known songwriter. He's written songs for some very, very famous country music artists. You'll see him all throughout his sizzle reel here shortly. But anyhow, thanks again, guys. Have an awesome weekend. Ricky, get us out of here, man.
Hey, guys, thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. Willie and I thank you guys very much.